Salute, Nick family. Welcome to the Queen's Court. I'm your host, Stephanie, aka Queen, and this is the weekly show. We meet here every Monday to talk about the Knicks' last slate of games. In this case, there was four in which the Knicks won 0. We'll get into that and to talk about other storylines as they relate to the New York Knicks. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification button so you'll be notified anytime anything goes live on this channel, which includes the Queen's Court, of course, the controversy with Josh, aka Uncle Fulio, the NBA report with Ron and John from Still Knicks fans, the pregame, postgame show with Simeon Russell, the creator of this channel, and any videos he may drop, as well as any events. You definitely want to stay tuned for the events. If you get an opportunity, please come and hang out with the NBK fam. You will not regret it. And of course, I have my own channel, Dope Soul Sports Talk, Dope Soul Knicks Talk. So if I don't forget, y'all know my condition, I will drop the link in the chat. If you feeling my vibe and how the show goes, check me out. I do the morning recap shows every morning after the Knicks play. And then I also every Thursday do the Just Nicking It show. Without further ado, we bring in Tony Crow of Knicks and Bruises. He could talk about his channel as well before we start breaking down the Knicks. How you doing, Tone?
Peace, Queen. Peace, Queen. I'm glad to be back.
Definitely.
Yeah, Knicks and Bruises. If you don't know, go check it out on YouTube. I'm here every week right before Queen's Court. But I want to talk about the MBK events because I think this is the first time I was live since us meeting up in DC, going to the Wizards game in DC. Luckily, that was a win.
Was that our last win?
No, we had one after that. We had one after that, I believe. Yes, we had one after that. But knowing what I had to go through to get out there and be out there and chill with you guys and that drive and everything else. Speaking of the Podfather, salute to Sim for
I don't know if he wants to come on. Let me
putting that event together. He said, yeah.
He do? Okay.
Yeah, putting that event together. Definitely another successful MBK event, our first road game, and look out for many more.
Yeah, before Sim and Freezy, I just want to piggyback on it. This was, I think, our first. We did the draft party, and we talked about going to different states locally and doing either a watch party or a live party. And Washington, D.C. was the first time we did it, and it was straight fire. Sim will talk about what we have planned for the end of February. But I'll say again, if you haven't hung out with the NBK fam, you missing something. You got to join us the next time. Sim, Uncle Freezy, how you guys doing?
I'm doing good, feeling good, man. Just getting home from practice, just walking in the building.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Glad to have you, Sim. It's been a long time. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on. I be wanting to get on in the morning, but it'd be hard sometimes because
it's hard for me, Sam.
Like so meetings and this and that. It'd be hard.
Yeah, no doubt. Freezy,
what's up, boss? How you doing?
Man, I think he's talking to you, Sam.
Oh, me? You talking to me? What's going on, Freezy? I'm chilling, man.
Yeah, good to see you.
Queen.
Good to see you. Good to see you, man. How you been?
I'm good, man. How you been?
I've been busy.
Yeah, it's good to see you, man.
Yeah,
good to see you,
man.
We got some great minds in here. We gonna really chomp it up tonight about the New York Knicks. Before we even start, are any of you guys? You know what? Actually, this is one of the questions. Anybody on this panel panicking? And is anybody on the panel have changed what you thought the ceiling of this team would be, given the 0-4, the 4-game losing streak, the injury to Mitch, and our upcoming season? Have you changed the ceiling for this team?
Can I just start off by saying I blame Eru because Eru was shout out to Eru, diehard Knicks fan. He was at the event and he said, "Oh, we could go on a 5-game win streak." And since he said that, we've been on a 4-game losing streak. Um, so I gotta stick with my motto of 1 game at a time moving forward.
Right.
But to answer your question, I'm I'm a little nervous of how we sustain the Mitchell Robinson injury. I think, you know, 2 years ago when he went down, we had Nerlens Noel who came in and stepped up and fit in seamlessly. Defensively, at this point, we don't have a guy to come in and step in seamlessly defensively at the center position. So to your point, to your credit, other guys are going to have to step up defensively outside of that position because I don't think we could rely on Sims to protect the rim or even Hartenstein to an extent to protect the rim, especially like 1-on-1. So I think I'm a little nervous of how do we stay afloat while Mitchell Robinson is gone. Once he returns, I think I have full confidence in what this team can be. But in his absence, I am a little nervous.
Sam?
I mean, I still think the Knicks can be, from the beginning of the season, I always thought they were going to be. I thought they should be better than 500, and I thought they could be, a couple of games above 500. Right, that's what I
Right.
thought they could be, and I haven't changed that. I still think they can be that. I am a little bit worried about like what Tony said. How do they replace Mitchell Robinson's, production, and that's not to say points and rebounds, but defense. You know what I mean, and
Right.
offensive rebounds. How do they replace that? I'm not sure, but I do think that the Knicks will continue, to be right there in the mix for the play-in, and that they can still be, 2 to 3 games above 500, however that works out. I still think they can be that. You know what I mean? And we've seen this from the Knicks time and time again, where every time it looks like they got this crazy schedule come up, they find a way to pick their way through it, stay afloat until they can hit a stretch. You know what I'm saying? And I think they'll do the same. I think there's going to be, we look at the schedule and we see Cleveland. Well, guess what? We beat Cleveland once this season, right? You got Boston, you got Brooklyn, two tough teams without a doubt. You know what I'm saying? But, there's some games in there that, if the Knicks can pick off a game here, pick off a game there, pick off a game there until they hit an easier stretch. Undoubtedly, there's going to be guys that don't play sometimes. There's going to be, just like with the Knicks, Mitchell Robinson ain't playing, you're going to catch teams on back-to-backs and all kinds of stuff. So I think that, they can pick their way through and still get to, one of, I don't know if you can be 1 game above 500, 2 games above 500 or something like that. 500 or better, I think.
Right. Okay. Freezy. And then we'll get to Eddie C.
So for the record, man, I'm always panicking, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm always panicking, man. You feel me? Because not because of like injuries or schedule or scheme or rotation or nothing like that, but I always feel like the Knicks always have destiny in their hands, and they always do Knicks type stuff that has our emotions all bruised up and stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm gonna say is this. I know the last 20 games, and this is weird, but I know the last 20 games of the schedule, I know the Knicks are gonna be good, right? Because the stretch 2 years ago, the Knicks were, I think, 14-6 the last 20 games. And last year, the Knicks were 12-8 the last 20 games. And both of those were under Tibbs. So I'm figuring that the Knicks will finish the season strong the last 20 games, right? But it's the 14 games till we get there. right? Can we? What are we gonna do in that space? Like in terms of moving up and down the standings, will we get a guy? Will we get some players to come in to help us? Will Tibbs stretch out the rotation back to 10 players if he feels confident he can get two-way players and all this stuff? So yes, I'm panicking, right? Because what I'm thinking is, and I'm always thinking about the future and the present at the same time. What I don't
Right.
want to have happen is we get into this weird situation where the next 14 games we play ourselves out of the playoffs, right? And then the final 20 games we play ourselves into a bad lottery spot, picking like 10 instead of picking like seventh or sixth or fifth. So yes, I'm panicking, and I'm not thinking about tanking and all of that stuff. But what I'm thinking about is do we go out and get a secondary ball handler to with go in between to fill that gap between Brunson and Quickly, right? Do we go out? Do we get, say, the Swiss Army knife that we need off the bench? Do we go get a Josh Richardson or Alec Burks type of guy to be that guy off the bench that can give Tibbs offensive and defensive flexibility so that he can change up schemes and things that he wasn't able to do because the roster is set a certain way, right? And so that's the reason why I'm panicking, because history tells us that this front office is not going to do any of the things that I listed. They're going to go out and get a guy that may not fit what Tibbs wants to do, and we're going to have a Dennis Smith Jr. situation here or a Cam Reddish situation here. Go out and get a guy. They were like, what? They targeted him? Okay. Maybe the front office saw something. And then Tibbs won't play him. And
Mm.
then down the stretch, we're wondering, is Tibbs the coach? Is this player a bust and all that stuff? So, yes, I'm panicking.
Okay. Eddie C, salute to you. Welcome to the show. Your thoughts?
How you doing, guys? Um,
You.
Salute to you, Queen. Tony Crow, Sim, Freezy, what's going on? Um, Salute to the chat as well. Everybody's doing well. Uh, when I you already know my stance on my team. I really like him. 1 second, just give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
Mm. I mean, in the interim, what I would say is, I agree with Sim. You know, I had them the beginning of the season. Well, the first time we did it, I had them at 40. Then I had them at like 42, where I could see a path to finishing like 45, 46 if a few
50?
things.
50, right?
Now, I don't think I was at 50, but I was like I could see 45, 46 if some things fell in place. Like if some players took a leap, but then I can also see us missing a play and totally had the bottom dropped out. I
Okay.
don't think the bottom is going to drop out other than injuries. Like I don't
Okay.
think the bottom is going to drop out, and I still see the Knicks finishing about 500, you know, and I still see the Knicks in the playoffs. Even if they have to play in, the Knicks will be in the playoffs this season. I just think that once you get through the top 5, the Knicks are right there with the rest of those teams, and defense and chemistry is going to be the difference for the Knicks. Our offense has been pretty stable throughout the season. It's the defense and the chemistry. Now, if injuries pop up, then that's something that changes everything. If Mitch
That
is out for
affects
the
all
rest of the
teams, though.
season, right? Yeah, that's gonna, and look, Mitch is gonna be out for not probably more than 3 weeks, right? Three
Yep.
weeks is the reevaluation.
Yep.
So that could change things in terms of how we do in his absence. But Eddie C.
Yeah, I think I'm okay now.
Mhm.
Got my goddaughter in the background getting picked up. We was taking care of her, so the mother just came in and it got a little rumblings around her. Ciao, baby. I'm sorry about that, but
Mhm.
I always have confidence in my team 100%. And you guys already have broken down somewhat of what I want to say. The Mitchell Robinson obviously throws a wrench in the whole situation,
Yeah.
right? So that's something that nobody can foresee. I don't know about this Emmanuel Quickly situation that we having right now as well, but me personally, I think we have the recipe. That's what I always say. I think we have the recipe. It's just that um sometimes we have a player that like Obi that was out, right? He was out for like 3 weeks or something like that. And then we found something when we had Isaiah Hartenstein and we had um Sims coming off the bench. Like I think that was actually what propelled us to get on that 8 game winning streak because we were a much bigger team, a much stronger team in the second unit. Sims could go out and defend. He helped Isaiah Hartenstein a lot. He masked a lot of his deficiencies. McBride was playing very well at that time. Quickly was playing well at that time, and you had either R.J. Barrett at the three or Quentin Grimes at the three. And I think that was the recipe for success. But I don't know if it could you can say that it's politically or what have you. We get other players back that were getting minutes usually, and now that breaks down, and now we lost the identity again. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew our starting five what it was, but the second unit I didn't know what it was. And when we got that, I knew that they were a tough second unit, and I could bank on them being strong and being tough. They weren't the most scoring, giftedly scoring second unit out there, but you were gonna get play D'd on 20 for the amount of minutes that they were there, and then we're not going to give up. So when you get Obi back, and I'm not trying to put blame on Obi, or I'm not trying to trash Obi, but once you get him back, you have to take Sims out of that equation, and then you have to put Obi Toppin in that equation, and they're just totally different players on two different spectrums, right? Then you also, you know, that when we were going on that run, we were doing fine, and then we get an RJ Barrett injury. So then, as soon as that happens, we go on a 5 game losing streak. So we really never had a chance to see a full spectrum of 20 games with that lineup. And I think that's the lineup that could take farther than anywhere else. But it's just a shame that we're not going to be able to see it because we have to feed other mouths like Obi Toppin, and we have to feed uh, uh, Sims gets pushed to the side once Obi starts to play. McBride's not playing well right now, and then we get injuries like Mitchell. So now even Sims gets thrust into the starting lineup, and Isaiah Hartenstein he has no help on the second unit because you're playing with Obi. You're basically playing with like a 3 man who's supposed to be your power forward on the defensive side of things. So to me, that's the big conundrum. I don't know if anybody else sees it that way, but to me, that's the huge conundrum of our
So you are
problem.
nervous.
It's I guess you could say I am because I know that team is not going to be played unless we either trade Obi Toppin for picks because I'm not even looking for players. Maybe a Naismith in the Indiana Pacers trade with of an unprotected first from Indiana or however you want to go about that situation. But I'm not really looking at players coming back. I mean, I like Grayson Allen as well, Cam Reddish, but
Right.
to me, it's not a necessity. But
Right.
it actually it does help. I know that it does help.
Right. All right. Some of you wanted to say something. You muted.
I mean, I don't know because like I'm looking at the wins and losses during that time, and like Obi, that the time that you're saying Obi was out and Jericho Sims was in. I mean, we went on a 5 game losing streak during that time as well, and actually RJ during that 5 game losing streak. I mean, RJ was actually playing during that 5 game losing streak. When RJ was out, the Knicks were on a winning streak.
4-1, I
He was
believe.
Yeah, let me see. RJ was out. He went out against
Dallas.
Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
right, in the first quarter. And then he was out against San Antonio. And then he was out against Houston, Phoenix, San Antonio, and Toronto. The Knicks were actually on a winning streak during that time, right? As far as when Obi went out, Obi was out for a while. The Knicks went on an 8 game winning streak. He was there for 2 of those wins. And so there was a 6-game winning streak without Obi, but then there was also a 5-game losing streak without Obi. So I'm not sure if it's that lineup with Jericho Sims and Isaiah Hartenstein that propelled the Knicks to a winning streak. And then RJ being, I'm not sure if that
It
really
was actually
equates to anything.
Brunson. Brunson was out for the majority of the losing streak. And what it was is just not the second unit. It's the whole 9-man rotation as a whole. We couldn't get that 9-man rotation for 20 games because I know Obi was coming back. And I know that then we lost Brunson for about 4 games, I believe. Then
I think
after
it was 2
Brunson,
games. I think he was out for 2
I
games.
think it was more than, I'm not sure. Could have been, but I think it
I
was
think it was
more
2
than two.
games.
It felt like 2 weeks not having that boy out there. And then
Yeah,
we lose RJ. So it's like
3
continuously
games.
continuously we can't get them together, and now we lose Mitch, and IQ ain't playing either. So it's like the injuries really put a debacle on what we had going. And that part of it is a shame.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about last week. I'll bring this up. So we started the week before the 4-game losing streak. We were 25-19. We were actually 3-0, sixth in the Eastern Conference, at won 7 of our last 10, ninth in defense, offensive rating, 10th in defense, 11th in defensive rating. Currently, we're 25-23, 2 games over 500, 0-4 this week, 7th in the Eastern Conference, clinging to 7th, I should say. 5-5 over our last 10. We lost 4 straight, 6th in offensive rating. The offense is getting better compared to other teams, and 13th in defensive rating. And we'll talk about it later. When you look at the Knicks defensive rating over the last 5 games, 10 games, 15 games, you'll see that the defense has been an issue for a while now, even with Mitch in the lineup. But let's talk about these 4 games and just what has stood out to you. We played Toronto twice at Madison Square Garden. At Toronto, we lost both games to them. Washington, I had a feeling about that game in Washington because of the way we won in Washington. I felt like they were very confident that had they hit a few more shots, they could have actually won that game. So I knew they was going to come in confident, and they came in with Bradley Beal back. And Kuzma dropped 40 on us the first game and 27 the second game. And then the Atlanta game was the first game without Mitch. And I think Murray and Young, between the two of them, only hit 2 3-pointers, one each. Most of their points was in the paint. But just what has stood out for you team-wise, player-wise, coaching-wise, this past week, this 0-4 week? And let me know if you need that again. You
You muted,
muted,
Tony.
Tony.
Slow starts for the most part, and bad fourth quarters. So it's really been the first quarter and the last quarter. Um, Somewhat of a change too, because it's not like it didn't feel like we were getting up big and then losing leagues down the stretch. It was actually the opposite, where we were getting down big, fighting all the way back, and then just not having enough at the end.
Yeah, it's like the Knicks. It's like the Knicks play mirrors the season overall. Like Tony just said, they can get down big, come back, or be up big and allow the other team to come back. It's like the same team. It's like the same thing with their wins and losses. They go on an 8-game win streak, then a 5-game losing streak, then a 4-game winning streak, then they lose a game, then they go on a 3-game win streak. Now they're on a 4-game lose streak. Right? Like they're streaky, and it makes me wonder: do they have a problem with being able to pull themselves out in time, like pull themselves out of a rut? You know what I mean? So like in a game, they get down big, they can't pull themselves. They got a battle. Finally, they can get themselves back in the game, or they go up big and the team goes on a run and they can't stop the bleeding. They lose a couple of games and they can't pull themselves out, to stop it from becoming a streak. You know what I mean? And maybe right now that's the makeup of this team is something that they're working on. How do we stop the blood from bleeding, when it's time to. You know what I mean?
Timely shots and timely stops is
Yeah,
what we're lacking.
you know. During this 4-game losing streak, I think the defense has been a big thing for me. When the Knicks were
Right.
winning games, their defense, especially during
Right.
that 8-game win streak, the defense was amazing. They were
Right.
playing amazing defense. Now they're playing terrible defense. If you look at the last 15 games, the Knicks are down like 23rd in the league in
Right.
defensive rating over the last
Right.
15 games. You know, uh, Playing terrible defense, and this goes back to what I believe or what I feel about this team. I don't feel like this team can play a high octane offense because right now over the last 15 games they've had like the seventh best offensive rating in the league. I don't feel like
Right.
this team can play a high octane offense and a lockdown defense at the same time. I don't
Right.
know why. I don't know. They're just not made like that. I feel like that's not how. I don't feel like they can do it. I feel like it's got to be. This team is a drag them out, uh, grind it out type of team on the offensive side, and it helps them play better defense for whatever reason. I don't know why, but that's what I
It
feel about this team.
could that be the coaching? And I say that
Maybe.
because that seems to be Tibbs' MO. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that seems to be where Tibbs thrives the most.
Yeah, it might be. You know what I'm saying? Because when you play a high octane game, right? Like that, those games can be wild and out of control, kind of. You know what I'm saying? Because the ball is going back and forth, you're up and down the floor. And Tibbs doesn't strike me as the type of person that likes things to be out of control.
He
You know what I'm
doesn't
saying?
perform well with chaos, right?
Right.
Like he needs
Tibbs is like,
structure. He needs
exactly.
things under his, like in his window to see
Yeah.
him the right way.
Right. Tibbs needs that control. You know what I'm saying? Let the game be slow so I can see what's happening. I can see what's going on. Like that's the kind of game I think where he excels. And he might struggle with that high octane type of offense.
Right.
It's
I
Tibbs.
d-
It's
yeah.
Tibbs.
I do wonder before I get to Freezy if our pace. I mean, we're scoring, but our pace is still slow though. Like our pace,
Right.
you
Yep.
know. So I think to your point, Sam. Early in the season, our pace was up there, and our
Right.
defense was terrible. Our
Right.
pace has slowed down,
Way
you know,
down.
and but the defense now is still
But I think
is still struggling.
I think we
Mhm.
still get up shots though. I
Well,
haven't looked at it lately, but there was a
Mhm.
point in time where the Knicks were like in the top 5 in shot attempts
right. Yep.
in the
Okay.
league.
Yep. Not now though. Not now though. Because this last game we took 82 shots. The game before that we
Well,
took
yeah.
77 shots, which is 90s era, 90s era basketball shot attempts, right? So
Right.
so
So
yeah, so
right now, and the Knicks are 8th in the league in shot attempts.
okay. Okay.
Okay.
90.
At 90
Okay.
90 shots a game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Man, we were at one point we were taking 96 shots a game. And so right now we're at 90. What I think it is Tibbs was on the hot seat and he squeezed every bit of juice from the team to save basically to save his job. And I'm not blaming him for doing that because we all feel pressure and stressful situation. We all try to do the best we can to turn things around. But I think what that did though is going to the 9-man rotation, it puts us in spots where sometimes we're gonna have it and sometimes we're not. Right? Because you can look at right now, Quentin Grimes is a bad defender. Right now, RJ Barrett is a bad defender. And not just me saying that by the eye test. If you go by what NBA.com says right now, NBA.com says Quentin Grimes last year had a defensive rating of 105. This year, Quentin Grimes' defensive rating is 112.
Right, but what has it been
112.
over the losing streak?
Right. Well. I was gonna let me just do this real quick too. I just want to
Mhm,
say the thing about R.J. Barrett, right? So
mhm.
R.J. Barrett's defensive rating last year, right? R.J. Barrett's defensive rating last year was 111.6. This year is 116.3. Right. So what I noticed is Tibbs made an adjustment after the Dallas game, right? And instead of fighting over the screen, what he did is this thing. I don't know what we call it. We call it, coaches call it different things, but basically, what happens is if you get caught up on the screen, you don't fight over the screen. You just go back. You just defend the closest person and switch, right? Because what was happening is before that, we get caught on the screen, and y'all saw it in the Cavaliers game when this dude Dean Wade and Kevin Love just killed us from three because they were wide open. We couldn't get over screens and that sort. And the Dallas game or whatever, Tibbs went to this thing where if you get caught up on a screen, just peel off and get to the next closest person without a man. I call it peeling off, right? We all call it something different. But when Tibbs went to that, our defense of course got better because there were less people open on the perimeter to get 3-point shots and go into the basket. But since teams figured out what we were doing, you started to see them run less of that and more high ball screens from the top of the key. You saw it with Luka, the 60-point game. You saw it with Siakam. You saw it with the guard from Atlanta, where the Knicks can't do that now. Basically, they spread us out, get our weakest defender, and just attack it all game long. You saw it Friday night against Atlanta with DeJounte Murray when he was hitting that floater in the lane over and over and over and over and over again. Right. So what I'm thinking it is that it's a combination of the guy Tibbs getting a lot of energy from those guys and wearing them down, and then teams making offensive adjustments to a basic offense Tibbs was running, and now it's probably time for another defensive adjustment by Tom Thibodeau.
Okay. Eddie C, what stood out for you this past week?
I think I agree with Freezy. I think we're tired. I think we tired right now, and not even this week and this past week, we just haven't been hitting free throws, and you can probably attest that to being tired.
Yeah.
Like our best free throw shooters have been missing free throws during games, at the end of games. So yeah, I think it's like we getting really tired now. We exerted a lot of energy on this losing and winning streaks and losing and winning streaks, and it's coming back to bite us. We really need this All-Star break to get recharged.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time buying the fatigue from the free throw line, especially over the past two games. When Randall and Brunson have played less than 38 minutes, which is probably in keeping for starters. Um, and they're missing, and they're missing free throws. And this has been going on for them for a little while now. It's not even new. I'm just having a hard time with the fatigue and the free throws. RJ Barrett plays more minutes than any of those guys
Yeah,
because he's running with the second team. Last night he played 41 minutes.
Brunson
And
started when he missed some clutch free throws, and ever since then, he's been pretty inconsistent. The potential game winners. I don't know if that was against Dallas or not. The first game against Dallas or not. But whenever that was, because I know he missed one against Dallas. But whenever he missed them clutch free throws, ever since then, he's been a little
That
wishy
was
washy.
that was Chicago, December 23rd.
Chicago.
Yep,
Yeah, ever
Chicago,
since then
December
he's been a
23rd.
little, iffy at that line. But Randall,
Yeah.
we seen that, last year as well. Um RJ's stepped it up a little bit. He's been a little bit better, but it's the clutch ones that hurt the most.
yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt. Wiz, welcome to the Queen's Court. First time. I appreciate you. Thank you for your support.
Hey,
Yep.
show us you subscribe.
Yeah,
Right,
prove it.
right, 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 right,
I
right, right.
subscribe. I even just saw the Cash App today, Queen, in case you want to check that.
Yeah, I
A
did.
little
Are
something,
I
something.
know you subscribe to nothing but Knicks though. Um,
Yeah, I subscribe to everything, man. What's
Your
up,
thoughts?
Kyle?
What's going
Okay.
on with you, my brother? How you feeling?
I'm
What's up,
good.
Wiz?
Sim, I was scared to get on here, man. I saw the lineup. I'm like, oh, snap, Tony. Sim, freezing. Oh, let me stay back. And then I said, you know, let me do it. I'm a Marine. I ain't scared. I ain't scared. From
No,
Brooklyn.
never,
Nah, man, do
never.
your thing, man.
Yeah,
So I was
definitely,
ready.
definitely. Your
So,
thoughts on this 0-4 week? What stood out for you, player wise, team wise, coaching wise, scheme wise, whatever you want to focus on? What stood out for you this week?
well, actually, when Sim was speaking, and Queen, you and I talked about it earlier about offensively, I just pulled up some numbers for the past 3 Atlanta games and in the past 4 games. And do you know the highest scoring game we had? We had the fewest shots. In fact, we had 2 of our highest scoring games had the fewest shots and low 3-pointers. I'm talking about the current, 3-point line 3-pointers.
Right.
I think our team, and I think the microcosm is actually our boy Randle. Randle, with except for maybe 1 or 2 outliers where he actually, put up and hit 6 or more 3-pointers. Most of his high scoring games are when he goes into the paint and he gets the traditional 3-pointer and gets his 60% from the 2-point line, including RJ. So I'm thinking our team can put up points if they play with it themselves. And that's our problem. We're not playing with ourselves. I think Art Randall's a perfect example. Every game for the past 3 or 4, Randall's first 3 shots were 3-point shots. And all of you know who played ball, know when you're starting off, the best thing to do, a couple of layups, a little layup drill, then you go for a little mid-range, then you start to get your way and go back and back. He started off outside first. When he clicks and he hits them, he keeps going. So lately he's been actually adjusting. And when he starts missing, he goes like 1 for 4, 1 for 5, which I've been saying all season. Once you do that, Randall, stop shooting a 3. You're not feeling it today, stop doing it. We can score 124 points. We can score 116 points with 10 3-point made in a traditional 3-point shot. If we're putting up that kind of numbers with 83 shots for the game, it means we can beat anybody if we now focus on the other end. So we don't have to do a high pace, shooting 100 shots, because we did a 9-9. I pulled one up, 9-9 shots, 106 points.
Right. The efficiency wasn't there
The
that game.
efficiency wasn't there, so that's
Right.
what we.
Right.
And our efficiency comes when we do what's within ourselves, stay within what we can do. So when Randall does his
Where's
drives,
what team did we play when we did that? I'm just curious.
actually those are Hawks. And then let's look at the past 4 games. Actually, look at Toronto. Look at the
I
game
mean,
last Toronto game.
the game that we did 99 and scored 106.
It was actually, I think it was the Hawks one, the first Hawks game. Let me pull it right up. I think I accidentally bumped into that.
Okay?
Let me pull up that latest Hawks game. But it's amazing that we have the ability to shoot 80 something shots, less than 90 shots, and score 120 points. And we can shoot 90 something shots and score less than 110 points, which means that we're not playing with ourselves. We're not taking efficient shots. We're not actually hitting our shots. We're not going to the foul line and hitting our foul shots. So the combination, the key is hit your foul shots and hit the shots that you can do well. And that means most of our team are not 3-point shooters, which means reduce your 3-point shooting and do the shots that you're going to get high efficiency on. And Randall, again, is a perfect example because when he goes, Randall one game had 12 3-pointers and 10 2-point shots. He was 9 for 10 from 2 and 4 for 12 from 3. So he basically almost had 30 points for the game, and most of his shots were threes. And the same night I checked the Warriors, Steph, and the young cat Poole, and none of them took more than 8 shots, 3-pointers. And I'm like, why is Randall taking double-digit 3-point shots and those 3 snipers are doing less than 10 3-point shots? And that's because, again, when he feels it, he does it. Even when he didn't feel it in the past, he's been doing it because he's being comfortable at a 3-point shot. I'm not saying he's wrong. He may have been open. It may have been smart shots. I'm not judging the shot type. It's just an unusual number to see that we can actually be efficient and do less than 90 shots, which means we can play with ourselves, not run up pace-wise, and have energy to get back on defense. So the issue now is maybe our defensive schemes, maybe our guys are not focused, maybe Tibbs have lost the guys defensively to like. Maybe guys are thinking, I got to get my offense, but I got to get to the All-Star game. Whatever the factors are, I don't want to judge what it is, but look at those numbers, Freezy, and see if you don't see a pattern of, can we score efficiently and put up more than 110 points, which that should win most games if we play our defense the way we're playing in that 8-game win streak where we're holding guys under 105, in some cases under 100 points a game. Right. I'm just saying that's my takeaway last week was we're not playing with ourselves, and when we do, we somehow let him go on the other end of the court because maybe we're thinking and I'm not going to try to point in the fingers, Brunson. I'm not going to say the names, Brunson, but maybe you're thinking shoot first, even when you're on defense, or even my boy Obi, try to get out there and go get a basket.
Yeah, I mean, it's something. There's something with when the Knicks drop 129 points, they can't play defense. They gave up 135. Right? They score 135 points. They gave up 145. I don't know what it is.
Right.
But if they just don't have it within themselves to be able to focus on both at the same time, or what? But somehow, some way, when they play really, really well offensively, they seem to struggle defensively. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is with this team. And why is that? I mean, I kind of agree that it's Tom Thibodeau. It's kind of Tom Thibodeau. Like, your team becomes who your leader is in the style of your style of play. So if your leader, with what he preaches or teaches, you know what I'm saying, if they're better at a certain style of play, then that's what your team is going to become, I think. You know what I mean?
Personally, that's why I would double down. I would double down on defense on this team.
Me too.
I think that's our identity. That's who we should be. We shouldn't be Atlanta. We shouldn't be Indiana. We shouldn't be these teams that score. We should be a grinded out, low scoring, tough nosed defensive team. And when we play like that, that's when we win basketball games. And that's when I enjoy watching the basketball game. So I think we should just double down on defense, even when it comes to the playoffs. If people say whatever, oh, we couldn't score, that was the only way we could have won anyway. You know what I'm saying? Just playing D and not letting the other team score, because RMO is not outscoring you. RMO is going to be forever, be it the coach, be it how it's always been in New York City, whatever have you. It's always been tough, hard-nosed defense, and that's how we should play from here on out.
I don't know.
I mean, this is what this is what I will say, and then Tone, I'll get to you. I think there's a balance, and we just have to find what it is. Because 2 years ago, when we were top 5 in defense, it was painful trying to get a basket. We would be down 8. I'm like, oh, I don't even know if we're going to win this game. We down 8. We got 8 minutes to go. I don't even know if we're going to be able to get back in this game. I mean,
like
that's
30
how tight
points. Yeah.
Right. That's how
points
tight it was. So, So I agree with you, Sam, and I agree with the rest of the panel that we got to find some sort of balance. But I don't want to go back to just being a grinded out defensive team struggling on offense. I think we got to find, some sort of balance there. But I think what stood out for me this week is we're going to go as Randle and Brunson goes.
Right.
Brunson hasn't looked himself this week, in my opinion. I don't know if that's fatigue for having played extended minutes. Earlier in January, him and Randle were top 5 in minutes. I don't know if that's taken a toll on him, but he hasn't looked himself shooting wise, even being aggressive, getting into the key. He just doesn't look the same. Randle doesn't look the same in the first quarters. That's kind of been what's been happening. Randle would get us off to good starts. Now we're struggling in the first quarter.
Right.
And we got to work to get back in the game. And then in the fourth quarter, we're not scoring enough points. I don't know if that's fatigue. Obviously, the defense is standing out. It's looking like earlier in the season where a team can get any shot they want, can go anywhere they want to go. All they got to do is one little fake, one little extra pass, and they wide open. So the defense is kind of looking the way it's looked earlier in the season. And the last thing is 7 through 9. It's just not a lot there in our rotation. The 7th player through the 9th rotation. I don't think we need to go to a 10. If we go to a 10-man rotation, that's fine. A lot of teams play 9, but we got to get something from 7 through 9. I thought last night, Fournier gave us good minutes. Obi gave us, some good minutes. His minutes was good, even though it didn't show up, in the box, in the box score. McBride, and Tony asked me this question: at what point does your lack of offense override what you're bringing defensively? Where it's not a net positive.
Soon as Grayson Allen get here. Man.
Okay.
See
All right. So it just like,
and I like Miles McBride too. By the way, he's one of my favorite Knicks.
Right. I feel like for the Knicks, the offense, yeah, okay, fine. Defense and chemistry is what's going to get the Knicks over the top. Defense and chemistry. You don't have the defense, you don't have the chemistry. It's going to be hard for the Knicks to win games. And we need an upgrade 7 through 9. Obi, in my opinion, is not a Tibbs type of player. I think if it was up to Tibbs, Obi wouldn't even be in the rotation. Tibbs has been almost gangster this season, and I've said this. Like Derrick Rose, no, you out. Cam, you out. Fournier, I don't care if you got 2 years left. How much we paying? You out.
Right.
And I think Obi is the last holdover in terms of somebody who doesn't fit Tibbs' scheme that's still getting minutes, and his minutes has been reduced.
Yeah,
he don't even care that he hit 4 or 5 threes. You still getting 10 minutes. Wow.
It's almost like oh man, I lost my whole train of thought. But I agree. How concerned are you guys with Tibbs adjusting his defensive scheme? Because I think if we're not bringing in a temporary replacement for Mitch that kind of brings what he brings, then he's gonna have to change his defensive philosophy of sorts, because he always says it's protect the rim first. Like that's the staple: protect the rim first, and then you protect everything else. I think without Mitchell Robinson, he has to adjust defensively, scheme wise. If you're not bringing in someone who's able to protect the rim first, and then my concern again is the perimeter defense is not like somebody can just come in and step up in that aspect. We have who we've had all year long.
Right.
And then my last little point is about that 7 through 9. It doesn't help when we have an injury somewhere and now Quickly is being brought up,
right?
And he's part of the top 5 now. He's starting. You know what I mean? Or Quickly's out now, and where's that production coming in on the bench now? You know what I mean? So I agree. We need to consolidate some of these pieces of players that aren't being utilized, that are out of the rotation, and kind of solidify at least one guy that is going to be able to give us some steady, solid production off the bench. And when I say Tony, one, who's going to get in addition to Quickly?
You know what, Tony? And I know this is a little bit off the topic, but kind of on topic. And this is just a personal player that I like. It makes me kind of mad that the Lakers traded for Rui Hachimura because I like Rui, and the Knicks probably could have gave a competitive offer.
They could have gave Obi, and I think that would have been enough.
They could have gave a competitive offer, and that guy would have came in and produced, man. Talk about having somebody else off the bench. That got me a little bit upset. I'm like, did we even talk about Rui? Were they even on his radar?
Right.
And you look at the package that they gave up for him, which
Yeah.
means it makes you say like, oh,
And,
we could have
We
beat
could have
that.
did that. We could
and
have been in
Queen
there
and
with
Queen
that.
for that reason, when you ask me, am I ready to panic? Yes.
Oh,
Right.
snap.
I don't
Hey.
think they
For
would have
that reason.
traded him to the Knicks though, in the division,
You did say that earlier. You
and
did
he's
say that
up for
earlier.
an extension too. So I'm sure the Knicks took that into
Mm-hmm.
consideration.
Yeah.
We got IQ, we got Obi, we would have
And
Hachimura
and
up
Cam
front.
Reddish.
But I would
And
have
Cam
gave up.
Reddish.
I would have gave up Obi for Rui. I like Obi. I love Obi.
Yeah.
I would have gave him up for Rui.
If
I
they would have
would have.
took him, Sim,
I
Mm.
know if they would have took him. If they would have took him.
because
Yeah,
he's
that's
in
the
the
thing.
same situation. I think Rui, from what I understand, they didn't want to, they couldn't come to a agreement contract wise, and he was
Right.
up for an extension, and they weren't going to pay him. You
Right. But
know,
see,
Especially having
but
Kuzma there
but a guy
already.
like Obi would have demanded less than Rui, I think.
Right.
So maybe they could have came to it. I don't know.
And I
maybe,
But
think they would
maybe
have had another year before they even had to like
yeah,
definitely make
maybe.
that
they
decision.
yeah,
But then of
definitely.
course the Knicks would have had to pay Rui, and what are they willing? Would they would what would that have been about? But
Or let him
man,
go,
or let him
or
go.
let him go.
But man,
Yeah,
like that's a piece, man.
So
That's a
yeah.
I
piece,
understand y'all
man.
like I
That's a
understand y'all
piece.
like Rui. I really think a better fitting piece for us probably would have been the kid in Detroit. Bring him here. He a winner. He played at
Oh,
Sadiq
Villanova.
Bey.
Sadiq
Sadiq
Bey,
Bey.
Yeah,
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 go
yeah.
man.
get
He be,
that
I
type
like.
of
I
dude.
wouldn't mind Sadiq Bey
That
either. I
I
that
think
love
he's
kid.
Sadiq
more.
Bey.
I think he's more of a. You need more trade assets to get Sadiq Bey
Villanova too, right?
from Detroit.
Yeah,
Villanova.
Villanova.
Yeah,
he's a
Villanova
Villanova.
Tibbs
guy.
Brunson's
guy, I
alum.
think.
Right. And so what it does is it gives you the roster flexibility to allow Tibbs to make defensive adjustments, because right now Tibbs can't make it because he doesn't have athletic guards on the roster, for one, and we don't have tall wing players too that Tibbs would like to play, right? And outside of Mitchell Robinson, we don't have that big that can probably dominate defensively for long stretches in the game, and you see that since Mitch has been out. If you don't have any of those guys, why not just go get smart defenders to help to go with the guys that you already have, so we can have more high IQ players on the basketball floor.
And that's what they do, Freezy. I mean, they were hot after Alex Caruso, right? And then, but there was a lot of people that Golden State really wanted Caruso. There's a lot of people that really want him, and it looks like Chicago Bulls are really not wanting to get rid of him. So then, what do they go? They go one grade lower, and now they're looking at Grayson Allen. So the template is always there. Like they know what they want. You know
And
what I'm saying?
Eddie C. Grayson Allen is a better player than Alex Caruso.
I mean, okay, so then that's great for us. Like, I like both of those guys. Like, I have no problems getting Caruso. He's more expensive, obviously, but I think he's bigger. I think Caruso's like 6'6", if I'm not mistaken, right? And he can guard
Mm,
some fours. Okay,
nah,
he
Caruso.
guarded.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
only
was guard.
Randall.
He was
No,
okay.
no,
I've
yeah,
seen,
he
but I've seen him guard Randall. So, but I've
Damn.
seen him guard
right,
Randall. And come on, we got to be
right.
straightforward. Like Randall's a strong player.
But that
And
was a
he's
time when Randall was struggling, and a lot of teams was doing that,
okay.
putting a smaller guy on Randall, hoping that he would overpower them and get offensive
He
fouls
doesn't
and
usually do
And
it.
they
I
would bring
get
a
it.
taller guy on a double team. You just put
on the double
anybody on
team.
Randall, and you just
Correct.
bring a giant to double team Randall.
Right.
But what I'm trying to say is, my point is that the Knicks always do the same thing. Like they always, Caruso, he gets out of away from the budget, then they go look for somebody on a minimal scale. Grayson Allen is next, and if Grayson Allen is too hard to get, they'll look for another. There's always players out there that can fit those molds. Serge Ibaka is another guy, and I think it was you, Freezy, that said it today that you could probably get both Allen and Serge for Cam. And
That
and I
was
don't know.
but okay.
Yeah.
That was you. Yeah, it was somebody on your show. I was watching your show today, and I heard somebody say that. And I don't see that much of a stretch, but they got to do finagling because of the money or whatever the case is. But you know, what I'm saying is the Knicks always do this. They always find a way to get somebody around what they're looking for. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that player is always out there.
Well, if they
I don't
always
know.
out there, I think the Knicks need to do a better job of bringing them,
Exactly.
bringing them in. I mean, if we're going wish list before we move on to the next segment, and I know
Before.
we would not be able to get this guy, I would want McConnell from
Oh
Indiana.
man, yeah, that's
I
natural.
mean, they got 3 guards out there, and they did it right. You
They
know,
want Obi.
he's your third string guard. So if Halliburton or Nimhard get hurt, you bring in I mean, they have lost 7 in a row though, which lets you know 6 or 7 in a row lets you know how important Halliburton is for him. But this guy can defend, he can rebound, he can pass. He's not gonna hit the 3 for you though. He's probably gonna take like 1 3 a game. But if we can get McConnell behind Brunson and play him with quickly instead of McBride, that's a serious upgrade in my opinion.
I would see that as an upgrade too. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of McConnell.
I,
Like he always does it to us all the time. No, he's been playing great actually for the past week. But
I have him on both of my fantasy teams, so I know.
I
By the way,
mean,
Freeze.
but okay, so that just proves a point. Like those players are always out there. You know what I'm saying? And they don't break the bank. Supposedly, I don't know what Indiana thinks of McConnell, but those players don't break the bank. Now, if you want to go something high, I've always said Vujicic. Let's go Vujicic. Let's get that center that's really going to stretch the floor for us and play that. He's not going to defend the rim. No, he's not going to be a favorite of a lot of Knicks of a lot of Knicks fans. But I know what he can do. I know he can rebound. I know he can score on the post, and I know he can hit the occasional 3. So if you want to go that way, let's go that way and let's do it. Let's do it big. You know what I'm saying? Let's not try to play these little games. These get these whoever you know guys that beat us all the time and just do it big for once.
If you're going big, Vucevic would not be my choice of going big unless you mean literally in terms of
I
his
think he
height.
meant a big, not like a big move. I think he meant
I,
a big.
Yeah,
No,
because
he
at the
I
point in
think he
time, at that point in time when I was really thinking about this, Chicago Bulls were really in a funk, and he was playing really bad, right? And I'm like, yo, can we like pry away Vujicic from the Bulls for something like a first round pick, one of those that we have from Detroit or Washington, what something else, Cam, a player, something like that, and then he goes and he blows up for 44 points.
right,
He
but
grabs
Eddie,
44 points and like 12 rebounds and like does this stuff, and I'm like, oh, you're never gonna get him now.
you're not getting Chicago and any front office who has Vucevic is smart. You're not getting Vucevic for scraps. You're gonna have to give up some assets for Vucevic.
I
He's a
agree.
good player. You're gonna mess around and Mitch gonna be sitting on the bench. I mean, this guy can play. You know what I mean? So now you splitting minutes between Mitch and Vucevic. So you paying him to play 18 minutes behind Mitch. I mean, I don't think that's
Mm.
I don't see that. I don't see that happening. Um, anybody else with
Well, real quick,
somebody
I'm
that
going
they
to
really love before we move on to the next segment?
I
on
mean,
my
I just
previous
want
take.
to
By the way, I just
wing.
want to give Freezer some numbers. Freezer,
All right, Wiz.
you asked about the number of shots. Last 3 games, last 4 games, we've scored more than 117 or more. We've shot 83, 82, and 88 shots. Milwaukee, both last 2 games with Milwaukee, we shot 100 shots each time. We scored 104 and 107 respectively with 100 shots. So I'm just throwing it out there. And they continue with all the numbers because the game we actually had our lowest score in the last 4 games, 99 shots, we scored 105 points. So it's about our shot taking efficiency, etc. Now
Right, but
Hachimura,
Milwaukee is the number one defensive team in the league, so it's going to be hard to be efficient
well,
um
100
against
shots
them.
means that you don't have to even be
So
that
so
efficient.
so
Just be
Wiz, so what I get from that is you're calling Jalen Brunson a Smurf.
no.
Are you blaming our point guard? Because what are we saying? Or are we saying that
I'm,
the offense is efficient against certain matchups and not efficient against others?
no, because actually the Wizards game we shot 99 took 99 shots
Okay.
and only 96 shots, I got 105 points. So it's just a pattern I've been looking at where sometimes the more shots we take, the less efficient we are, and that's
Okay, I
well,
see.
it may be, but the
I see.
worst part is we actually scoring less points and taking more shots. Now Hachimura, by the way, Sim, I really don't see it career wise, man. He's 34%. If I mean 33.7 outside from three, right? Less than half a block a game, less than
But hey, but
five
Wiz,
rebounds a game.
you're not getting him to be a featured piece. You're getting him
Yeah.
to knock down those corner threes. And last season he shot 47% from the corner three. So you stretching
Oh,
the
okay.
floor, you stretching the floor for LeBron,
Oh,
giving
so he's
LeBron
high heart.
driving lanes, and then plus LeBron can kick out to him because he's shooting
Yeah.
47% from all four corners.
Yeah.
So he's
You're
gonna be
bringing
an
in a
high heart
guy,
shooter.
you're bringing him in to, come off the bench, give you some firepower coming off the bench. You know what I mean? He can post up a little bit. Like he can handle the ball a little bit. He's a decent defender. You know what I mean?
I think
You
the
know,
biggest concern is his injuries.
Yep.
right,
Mm,
Right.
right.
okay.
Right.
And I do kind of see
All right.
that too because they have a surplus of those types of guys that could shoot the three on that team. They have what's his name, Kuzma, and they
Kispert,
have they have
Avdija.
Porzingis, they have Kispert,
Yeah.
Abdija as well. So they
Gafford.
can give
Gafford and
one.
Kuzma. They had a log jam at dudes that play a spot.
All
Well,
right.
my only
Before
take about players is we gotta. I say we go and force someone to give us somebody by offering them a king's well
King's
ransom.
ransom.
just
I
show
don't
up
want.
at
I
their
don't want.
door, so and
I
so is
don't want.
not available,
Yeah.
but this is what we got. Can you make them
Exactly.
Right.
available?
Right.
And exactly
Just
because they is
Leon
again.
Rose can do
We're not
his
gonna.
mob thing. He
Yeah,
can
Right.
leave a
put a
rose at
horse head in
somebody's.
his bed.
Yeah, leave
Yeah.
a rose
but
on somebody's door and say, you know what this means.
exactly. But
Well, we know how that worked with Danny Ainge. He ain't fall for it.
yeah,
He ain't fall
Right.
for
exactly.
it.
Right.
And
Right.
he
Right.
is
Right.
like,
It's from
okay.
Boston. Boston is gangster town. They got gangsters
Right.
in Boston. But
Okay.
we have so
Let-
many picks. If we draft, even like Freezy and Queen, you guys had two great draft picks last year, right? We're gonna have. And where would they have played? Would they have played with Sims? With Sims right now? Would they have been on the bench?
They'd have been on the bench.
Right.
Been on the
So,
bench.
even our draft picks we have now, let's say even two or three of them convey for this next draft over the next 2 years. Four rookies coming into this lineup right now. I don't know if we're going to play them. So I'm saying we got to use those picks for. And again, the 2023 picks are going to be gone in about 3 months, right? So let's use them. Let's use
All right.
those picks. I'm saying, and get somebody.
All right. Refocusing on last week, I just want to ask you guys about Sims in place of Mitchell Robinson. Just your thoughts on him before we move to the next segment.
You got to play him. You got to play him. You got to play Jericho Sims. Right. And the reason why you got to play Jericho Sims is twofold. You got to play Jericho Sims because in his long-term development, which has nothing to do with last week, right? You're talking about a dude that can be a bigger version of a PJ Tucker type. And right before, and I know people like to go, oh, PJ Tucker, man, look at PJ Tucker's numbers. PJ Tucker wasn't PJ Tucker until he was 26, 27, right? And look at Jericho Sims, what he's doing right now in his advanced numbers. This kid can become something for the Knicks, a discount. And the alternative is starting Hartenstein, having Sims come off the bench.
But he
I thought
started
this
this
was
season. That's what I'm
yeah.
saying. He
I
started
thought
this
Hart was
week,
gonna start actually, and he didn't.
and he
I thought
didn't.
this would have been the perfect opportunity for Tibbs to start Obi, and he still didn't do it.
No, he ain't go. I don't understand what you mean by starting Hartenstein.
Or starting Obi.
No, I'm talking about Hartenstein though, because he ain't gonna start Obi and Randle together and not get rim protection.
I like Sims and I like Sims long term, but I think right now he's at a disadvantage because of the value or the importance of these games right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he's really going to have to learn on the fly. He's really going to have to like um have some coaching on the floor to walk him through some things. You know, when I say
You
he's
saying
not,
he's raw?
yeah, he's not ready yet. You know what I mean? Like he can get there, and this is a great opportunity, if for nothing else, for the experience.
Right.
But he's not ready, so I'm a
No.
little concerned that, you know what I mean. We're you know how you always frown upon just giving somebody a shot to give them a shot, or just to see what they become. Or
Right.
obviously that's not what we're doing. It's out of necessity,
Right.
but my hopes aren't high just yet, just because he's raw, he's new to this. You know what I mean? It's he's still learning.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I'm a little
Okay.
concerned.
yeah, I mean, as far as him over Hartenstein, I'm okay with him coming in and being there over Hartenstein. One,
He fits better
yeah, exactly. I think
like
he fits
Mitch.
better like Mitch. He does,
Mhm.
he does the same things as Mitch. Probably not as well as Mitch as far as the on the defensive side and blocking shots. And covering the. I don't know, maybe covering the pick and roll. They're similar, but also he allows Hartenstein to stay on the bench, and you don't have to change two lineups now. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You can keep the bench the way it is and let
Right.
them, stay comfortable in what they're doing. You know what I mean? While you bring Jericho Sims in the first unit, and they're used to playing with a guy like Jericho Sims because Mitch plays
Right.
the same style of basketball. So I think it works that way.
Right.
You know,
Okay,
Oh, I agree 100%. It doesn't change too much for the first unit,
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, the second unit stays the same. I would not. I'm not saying put Hartenstein in the starting unit. I think they're making the right decision. I'm
Right.
just concerned with, what he's gonna give us in that rim protection part. That's the
right?
only my only concern. Everything else I like with Sims.
Right.
what I
Yeah.
liked the most was
Mm-hmm.
the lack of fouls. I think he's a fast learner, and they already know. You guys already know. I call him, Baby Hakeem, and not
Mm.
Prince Hakeem from
Mm.
Maybe
Mecca.
Hakeem. You mean
Yeah.
Right.
Hakeem
Yeah. He pushing it.
Olajuwon?
You pushing
No.
it,
That's
Wiggins. You
Maybe
the
pushing it.
same
Hakeem
thing Queen said
Olajuwon?
earlier.
You can't say
Are
you
you
can't
Same
say
serious?
tone
that.
and everything.
Yeah, you making us question. You making us question.
I'm sorry, man.
Wow.
I see something, man. I'm telling you. I'm gonna call up Mr.
Is it is
Olajuwon.
it is it basketball that you see?
I see something, but I don't see Hakeem Olajuwon.
No.
I'm telling
Freezy
you,
said
it's
Prince Hakeem from Coming to America.
Yeah. Oh.
right.
Kevin Berger said the
Oh
same thing.
Right. Bro,
He's
come
going to
on. Come
Yeah.
Queens
on,
to find
bro.
his queen, right? He's in New York. I'm going to find his queen. But
Yeah,
man,
but honestly, these games when they were playing Toronto, they could have played Obi Toppin. Like Siakam plays center, Julius
true.
Randle could have played him,
Mm.
and Obi Toppin could have played Barnes. Isn't he their power forward? I
It's the
mean,
defense, though. I don't see Obi
Mm.
Toppin as a really good defender. That's the
I,
issue with Obi.
I agree with that, but it's once you're down these players and you have to put in your second round pick instead of the first round pick that you picked the year before that, that just screams like we're
That the
just
first round pick ain't that good.
But
losing. He's losing so much value by you just even doing that. Like, why don't you just start the kid and see how he played? And then you saw how he played against Toronto the last game.
Yeah.
If you give him
Let's
25 minutes, he might have done more.
I think he would have done well for me. I feel like at this point we know who Obi Toppin is. So you give him 25 minutes, I think you are going to get more offensively. But defensively, I don't think you're going to
So
do
then
that.
what's the point when Mitchell is playing him over Sims? If you're gonna start Sims off the bat when Mitchell Robinson is out, what's the
Right.
point of starting playing Obi Toppin power forward minutes when you had Jericho Sims playing power forward minutes when he was out?
because
Yeah.
it's about fit, though. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's about fit and position. You know what I mean? You could, when Obi was out, you could put Sims at power forward because you have Isaiah Hartenstein who could spread the floor, but
Right.
in theory,
Theoretically.
But I just gave you the
right?
Right.
fit against Toronto.
Right.
You know what I'm
Against
saying?
Toronto, against Toronto, you could have done it.
You could have done it in stretches, I think. I don't know if you start the game that way. I think he could have done it in stretches, because I was definitely a proponent of putting Obi and Randle out there in stretches against Toronto. You know what I'm saying? Still, I'm not sure, you can do long term, have Obi starting next to Randle long term, especially against some of the teams we're getting ready to play against. I can't see that happening
It's
and
a
being
team that we
successful.
played before. We played Toronto. It was Toronto, another team. Then we played Toronto again, right? So we had like Toronto
Washington.
We
twice.
play we played
Played Washington,
Toronto, we played Washington, we played Atlanta.
Right.
and Porzingis was the center in Washington.
Yeah, it did. It did, man. They came out and just rolled. They just rolled the floor with us, man. I mean, you could throw.
Yeah, that Washington game was
Yeah,
really
they just
bad.
came.
That
They
was
came
that was
and beat the
bad.
brakes off us. Right.
I mean, one of the triggering phrases for me is put somebody out there to see what they can do. Like that is just a trigger for me. Like I feel like if
That's
you
what they
see
do with Obi. But that's what they do with Obi at the when this. I just said to you. I said, so then what's the point of playing Obi when he got back if you had Sims at your power forward, right? And now Mitchell Robinson is gone, and you don't put Obi as your starter because Sims wasn't playing when Obi came back, right? He
right,
wasn't playing at all.
right,
Yep.
right,
So then you put Obi in once he gets back from injury at the back of power forward slot, and then
right.
you give him no chance to start when Mitchell Robinson's is out, and then you thrust
Eddie,
Start
Jericho
where
But
though?
Sims
he's not he's
Where are
not
at
you
a
the
starting
five.
center.
Obi?
Eddie,
Where are you
Start him
starting
at the
Obi
four.
though?
You
And
start
you're gonna
Obi at
put
the four.
Randall at the 5?
Put Randall
Yeah,
at the
especially
5.
against Toronto.
Nah.
Eddie, I think what we pointed out earlier, you know, is putting Sims in replace of Robinson is the least adjustment for everybody overall. The
I
team can
understand that
continue
part.
to
I'm
play the
not
same
oblivious to that.
scheme, same
Right.
I'm not
formula
oblivious
as
to that
normal.
at all,
When
man. Like
when you changing the starting lineup and putting Randall at the 5 and Obi at the 4,
Just so that Obi can play.
now there's a lot more adjustments that
Mhm.
the starting lineup has to figure out in itself, let alone the second unit and
Right.
everything else. It's a trickle down effect. I think
I
starting
understand
Sims
that. I understand
minimizes
that
how
full
much change
fledged.
you have to do.
I understand
Right.
that full
And
fledged. Like he does the same things that Mitchell does, and probably 70-40. I would probably do the same thing. You know what I'm
I
saying?
like it though. I
But
like.
but you have to stop killing the value of your players once you have an opportunity to do so in certain situations. And it's not like you can't take it back. Like there's certain didn't
I
we start
But see,
Fournier
that's
for half
another
a
I
thing.
football
just
season?
disagree. I
Half a
Yeah.
disagree, Eddie C. You can't play people just because you want to up their value.
We did that
Right.
with
We
Fournier.
as a coach, you
Not
try.
to update value, but we did that with Fournier, knowing that Grimes. I've been screaming Grimes was the better player from the get, and we did that with Fournier until I don't know. He thought he was on the hot seat. I didn't think that was the case. I just thought that this kid was hurt and he couldn't play at Grimes.
But
But
okay, one topic at a time. You're gonna play Obi because you believe he gives you the best chance to win the basketball game. You're
against
not
Toronto, I
playing
did.
Obi. I disagree. And somebody said in the chat, I meant to highlight it. Um, and I agree with this. Toronto is too physical for Obi Toppin. I
Unless
just don't see. I just don't see Obi. I don't see Obi Toppin even getting a shot off against Toronto. Maybe on the swing, maybe on the swing if he's wide open,
Played well, yeah.
he'll get a shot. But that Toronto team, you got to have players that can play at all three levels. You got to have players that can shoot, and when they close out aggressively, you got to have players that can put the ball on the floor and make a play, either for yourself or for somebody
Jericho
else.
does none of.
But there's another option, by the way.
Yes.
Freeze's analysis of RJ is really a power forward. He's actually another Randall. Then we put Obi at the 3 and make RJ play the power forward that he should be playing.
Oh no! Don't see now you mixing up what I'm saying. See now you mixing up what I'm saying,
See,
man.
this
Don't do
this
that,
this
bro.
is the thing that happens though. Like people talk about adjustments and they want like all these. They want like a whole bunch of adjustments that affect affect everything on the team. And you are literally when you do that, you are literally you're trying to do this with no practices, no
Right.
camp, right? And expect these guys to now come in and just have to fit together. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, when you make these kind of wild adjustments, it's not going to work that way. It's tough. I mean, every once in a while, you might see something happen and it just clicks.
Right.
But for the most part, it's tough for that to happen because, there's too many little nuances in a basketball game that take place in order for, a team to
Sims,
click
let
and
me
a
let me
team to
just say
work.
And let
this.
me
But like
just say this real
it's
quick.
like
Let me say
starting
this.
Burks.
Let me say this.
It's like
Let me say
starting
this.
Burks at the
Hold on a
point
second.
guard.
Hold on. One at a time.
In the NBA championship,
Eddie C, relax. One at a time. One at a time.
The results from that chain reaction ultimately goes back on the coach. So if you try it and it fails, it's not Obi's fault. It falls back on Tibbs, right? So if Tibbs is going to accept the blame for anything type of adjustments, bro, he's going to make his adjustments because he can live with that. That's what coaches do. They take all the data. They know who can play. They know who can do what and who can't. Bro,
Right.
Tibbs has a greater feel for that team than any of us. And if he hadn't made those adjustments that you said with Obi, bro, there may be nothing to it.
Right. And the other thing I'll say in terms of Sims can't do the closing out and whatever, Sims is not playing a power forward. Sims is playing center.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to worry about him out on the 3-point line and them closing out and what he's gonna do. He's playing the center. He's playing the center position. But go ahead, Eddie. C, you were gonna say something.
Nah, I was just gonna say like coaches do things like that all the time. Like in the NBA championship game, Steve Kerr put in this guy that I don't even remember. I think he plays for Toronto right now in the starting five, and he took out Kevin Looney. So you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes, especially when it comes to an injury, you just have to probably get like the players that have the most tools out there and just put them out there and play and see how it works. If it doesn't work well within the first 5 minutes of the game, you can take them out. You know what
You
I'm
could be
saying?
down 10, by then. But
Or
I think you talk about Otto Porter Jr. But
Yeah, I'm
listen,
talking about
But
when
why would you
Kerr
put in
made
that
that
much
move,
practice time for 5 minutes of game time?
No,
or you
I
could
said
put,
if it doesn't go well. I
Right.
said if
I
it
have an
doesn't
idea.
go well.
I have an idea though. How about putting Magic Johnson at center and see if you could play with Magic Johnson playing center in an NBA playoff game
I
and
see
have.
what you did there.
Right.
but the issue is you
Yeah,
got to
go ahead.
believe in
I'm
what you're
joking.
doing.
Yeah.
He put Otto Porter in because he felt like that was going to help his team.
Right.
Right. Right.
And Otto Porter started 30 games that year too.
Yeah.
By the way,
You know what I'm saying?
the
And that's
Warriors.
that's what you got to look at. What had been done in the past, you know what I'm saying? What have, they probably had worked on him being in the lineup. Like
Yep.
Freezy just said, he started a certain number of games. And also you got to look at the player you're putting on the floor. Obi Toppin ain't Magic Johnson.
No.
You can put Magic Johnson out there at any position and he's still gonna do Magic Johnson.
Right. And
You
Mitchell
know what I'm saying?
Robinson was not putting up Kareem Abdul-Jabbar numbers. So I understand where you going with it in theory, but no, come on, bro. Come
I
on, man.
know.
Let's not do that.
I know. Transcendent. I mean, Magic is a freak of nature. I know that. He was doing
Right.
hook.
And he wasn't even a Hall of Famer as a rookie, but the way he played during that rookie season let the coach know, like, you know what, I might be able to start this guy at.
Exactly.
And
Right.
that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to know with certainty when you put a guy in. There's no way you can know with certainty. But
Right.
you've seen enough of them in practice. You've seen enough of them in the game that you can say, you know what, I believe. Not let me throw him out there and see. I believe this guy, from what I've seen in practice, from what I've seen in game, I believe he can handle this moment. Or I believe he can help this team in this moment. You got to have that belief as a coach, not, I don't even know. Let me just throw him out there and see what he can do.
And Wiz, you know who started at point guard in that game, right? When Magic jumped ball at center.
Man,
All-Star Norm Nixon started
Norm
at
Nixon,
point guard.
Yeah. Yep, I know.
So you can, bro. Like some of these examples, bro. We got to use context, bro.
I
Right?
know.
You know what I'm saying?
I just try to mess with it. Actually, I rather trust Eddie's idea than the guy who started Burks at point guard for 40 games last year as the best point guard in the team. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there.
Listen, our defense moved from wherever it was to number 11 when we put Burks in the starting lineup.
Right.
Because we were able to switch and do a lot of things with Burks. You can't think about Burks as a traditional point guard. That's not why the move was made. He wasn't even handling the ball.
I'm just
I mean, he would
Tim,
bring it up.
all.
He would bring it up at times, but he wasn't put in to facilitate. He was put in for defensive purposes so that we would be able to switch and stay in games defensively. Right. And he did his job.
I'm just trying to mess with your A for Tibbs. Your Tibbs A grade. That's all.
And I was just joking, bringing up the Burks thing.
I mean, and also though, like, what is this thing I keep seeing all over the place? And Eddie has said it a couple of times. You're devaluing your players because you don't play them. Like, that makes no sense to me. You play who you think is going to win the basketball game. If that player is not good enough to get on the floor, in my opinion, they devalue themselves.
Yeah.
Because if you're good enough to play, the coach is going to play you. If every coach wants to win, Tom Thibodeau wants to win. So he's going to put the players out on the floor that he thinks is going to help him to win. So, you're devaluing Obi Toppin. People in the league know what Obi Toppin's value is, in my opinion.
That's the thing, though, Sim. Like, I like Coach Tibbs as a player, but if he doesn't have his types of players, he's not going to play you, and that doesn't necessarily mean necessarily mean that the player isn't good. So what you do is, if you don't play the player, if you don't play the player, they're going to try to poach these players, like Indiana Pacers try to poach Obi Toppin from us for whoever it is in a bag of Skittles, or how Milwaukee's going to try to poach Cam Reddish from us for this guy in a second round pick, because in their system that player fits a little bit better than in our system.
I get
because he doesn't
but why
even
is
give
it
him
a
a chance.
You mean like how
it could work?
Why is it a poach though?
It could work both ways. Maybe the player we're getting in return fits our system better than the guy we're giving up.
Dallas poached Frank Ntilikina from us, right?
I mean, because people, people say, oh, well, play him so you can get the value up, right? So you play Obi to get the value up, but you lose basketball games at the same time because you're playing this guy to get the value up. That doesn't make sense to me, because now teams look at it and say, well, you played this guy and you start losing games.
What's his value really now?
What's his value really is? You know what I'm saying?
So you could probably say that. You could probably say that like for Miles McBride right now. You know what I'm saying? We playing him and we losing games. He's not doing well, and we still playing him.
But you was also playing him
because we don't have another option.
You was also playing him on an 8-game
You do have options because Cam Reddish is on your bench. You know what I'm saying? You
At
have
point
other
guard.
options.
At point guard.
He's not playing point. He's not playing point.
What's he playing?
He's playing the
two.
two.
But Rose and Fournier could play
he's a combo guard. But I can see.
But look, he was also playing. He was also playing during the 8-game win streak.
And I'm not an advocate of playing Cam. Like, I know what it is with Cam. I know basically what it is with Cam is we don't want to pay him. So you don't want to pay him. So you don't want to play him so he doesn't get hurt, so that you can't trade him. You know what I'm saying? But even though there's a lot of people that like Cam Reddish, I'm not one of those people. Me and Steph have gone back and forth. Like, we said months ago that I would have traded Cam Reddish for 2 second-round draft picks, right, Queen? And now it looks like we can't even get that.
Well, we might be able to get Grayson Allen, and I would take
that. Listen, I don't know how that.
And about a starter.
Did you hear about the second part of that quote that they're saying that they have also discussed a deal without Cam Reddish for Grayson Allen, which I think is probably the truer part of that whole sentence.
They discussed the trade that
another
included
one.
Cam Reddish, but not Grayson Allen.
No, I think it was they discussed a trade with Cam Reddish, and they also discussed a trade where Cam Reddish wasn't in the trade for Grayson.
No, I think it's the other way. I think
I'm gonna have to look at
other teams want Grayson Allen as well.
The Bucks had interest in Cam way before we said anything about our interest in Grayson.
Right. I just feel, like the whole, you got to put the players out there that you think is going to win. And people keep saying, well, you're devaluing this guy. So every guy that you don't play, then you're devaluing that guy. I mean, someone who was a Blue Hefner said something in the chat about, I don't know. I don't remember what he just said. How can Sim say the league knows Toppin is he doesn't play? Well, guess what? Toppin dropped to the Knicks. They knew something.
Right.
He dropped from, being a
top 4
best player in the NCAA, or winning whatever he won, player of the year, whatever, to dropping to 8. They knew something. They know who he is. They've been watching the guy for years. Trust me. This ain't the first time. It wasn't like he just came on the scene when the Knicks drafted him. They've been watching him for years. They know who he is.
Yeah,
They see him in the NBA. They know what he is.
I'm seeing a lot of
about
marketing comparisons in the chat saying nobody thought marketing would be who he was, and Obi could end up.
Actually,
marketing had a skill set, though.
Yes,
he had a skill set, and you could say, he didn't pop, but he had a skill set. Obi Toppin's skill set, in my opinion, is not even close to what marketing.
Terrible.
That
coach in Chicago was terrible.
Yeah, he crazy devalued him to the point where, you know what I'm saying, now Utah has certainly a player, and Cleveland saw something in him as well, played him at the small forward position at a 7-footer, knowing how bad his defense was.
Lauri Markkanen, ladies and gentlemen, rookie year, 15 points, 7.5 rebounds a game. Second year, 18.7 points, 9 rebounds a game.
Right.
How many minutes?
Right, but knocking it down because he was good enough to play those minutes. That's why he got those minutes.
You got to give people minutes. If you don't, how many minutes does Obi Toppin get, and how many points does Obi Toppin score?
Bro,
forget the points.
You got to be good enough to play those minutes when you get into the league. You ain't gonna just be thrown minutes.
It's like, yo, he plays like 10 minutes and can score you 7 points. Isn't it something like that? Or am I bugging?
Know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
cool. To me, it's not
like,
about
but if he
plays, he's basically saying the per 36 should mean something.
I dig
that. You need to
but
play though.
But you got to impact. You got to have some kind of impact on the game besides somebody else is throwing you a oop or somebody is setting you up for a 3. Yes, Obi hit 3s. You know why? Because the ball was swung to him from somebody else against Toronto.
Right.
Somebody else created that for Obi Toppin.
Right.
He was a spot-up shooter. That's why he dropped those 14 points.
How
he was a spot-up
What about
shooter.
the one that he was at the 3-point line and he dribbled in and he dunked it?
Okay, cool. That's going to happen from time to time. But for the most part, he's not creating his own shot. Right? He's receiving it from somebody else, which is something that devalues him.
And it was against zone. It's not like he beat somebody. It was against zone defense. You're not going to see that every night.
So in a game if the ball is not swinging, or in a game where it's not his night from the 3-point line, you get what you get from Obi. And we've seen it throughout the season.
You could say the same thing for Jericho. If he ain't getting the oop, you ain't getting this. You could say the same thing.
No doubt about it.
If he ain't getting the oop, you ain't getting this.
But people are not arguing about Jericho. But people are not arguing about Jericho Sims and his playing time and is he going to be a star or is he going to be this? You know what I'm saying? We're talking about Obi Toppin because he was the 8th pick of the Knicks.
Right.
But you don't put him out there just because he's the 8th pick. I'm sorry, you got to earn it.
Well, you don't put him out there
on the floor.
Okay, I'm not his fan. I'm not a fan of Obi. Like, I like Obi. I think he could be better. I think that he does good things on the basketball court, but I think you need him. He's a player that needs time for you to show these things. When he goes, there's a shot made. He gets under the basket and he brings out the ball with the quickness, and he gets you started on your offense quicker than everybody on the Knicks. If you keep on doing that for the 38 minutes.
Who gets us started on the offense? How does he get us started on our offense?
Because when you make the shot, he's already inbounding it quickly, and he's going up the floor. He's on a stream going up the floor on the other side. Like, these things take time. He's not going to show you everything that you want to see in 10 minutes of a game.
But it's not just
there's
the
10
a lot
minutes. Of people that are not going to do that.
Listen, it's not the 10 minutes. Hold on, Eddie C.
He can do a lot.
Do you think as Freezy said, well, first let me just preface this by saying I get it. It's two different philosophies. One, you got to earn your minutes.
Ain't nothing to it.
You know, from practice, from the little bit you play in the game, from summer league, whatever. I see your development, and I feel confident enough to give you minutes. That's one way. Another way is, you know what? This is our eighth. This is our eighth pick. We're gonna gift him minutes. Same thing with R.J. Barrett got minutes, and some people felt he didn't deserve it. Though I will say what you want about R.J. Barrett, his basketball IQ and his fundamentals and his skill level is way ahead of Obi Toppin. But organizations do that. Organizations do that. This is our draft pick. We're going to just put you when you're going to go. However, he wasn't drafted to that type of team. He wasn't drafted to an OKC or an Orlando or a Detroit where they're not trying to win. They're trying to win, but you know what I mean? They know they're not a playoff team. So they're just going to give their draft picks minutes. He wasn't drafted there. Look at Johnny Davis in Washington. He hasn't even, I don't even know if he got off the bench this season. Look at Book Knight in Charlotte. Exactly. He might have played like a few games. So every team depends on the team you're drafted at. You're drafted to teams that's trying to make the playoffs. They're going to bring their rookies along slowly. They're going to have to earn
trying
time.
to do that with Obi Toppin.
Right.
He was supposed to be the fourth for the Knicks. That's the way it was supposed to go down.
Right.
So, but Julius Randle, So then now he's hampered. So that's not his fault either. You know what I'm saying? Like
nobody is
he's not better than Julius. He's not better than Julius. But everybody knows, and I'm pretty sure everybody in this panel is a smart basketball mind, and they know that Julius Randle was not supposed to be there past that year. It was supposed to be Obi Toppin's place, and he had to falter and get out of Dodge, or he had to play well and become the power forward for the Knicks. And that just didn't happen for him. The way the story was supposed to be, it got scrapped in the first chapter.
Right. But that's Obi Toppin's side of that story. That's not Julius Randle's side of the story.
Right.
Right. And so here's the other thing too.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Here's the other thing. Of all the young players on the roster, Obi is the one that didn't he failed to launch. Right. Here's the thing. McBride and Quickly are playing over veteran Derrick Rose. Quentin Grimes is playing over veteran Evan Fournier, right? Mitchell Robinson supplanted Nerlens Noel to the point where Nerlens Noel was traded away, right? The one left standing is Obi Toppin, and people are here pounding the table that it's not fair to Obi.
But
why?
But that's
why
not
you
but
can't?
That's not the
second best player.
That's not the point here. The point is,
then be better than him.
The point
then
here
be better than him.
Right. The point is, young players beat out veterans. Young players beat out veterans. Young players beat out veterans. Obi is on the bench. He's a young player that did not beat out a veteran. That's not the veteran's fault. That's not the coach's fault. That's Obi's fault. You want to play, earn your keep. It's as simple as that. Why is Miles McBride playing? Right? Because he's grinding harder in games consistently. Right now, he looks better than Derrick Rose in Tom Thibodeau's eyes. That's why he's playing. The same thing with Quickly, same thing with Grimes, the same thing with RJ. Young players beat out vets. Obi didn't beat out a vet, and he on the bench. Same thing with Cam Reddish. We shouldn't even be talking this long about Obi Toppin, bro.
I got you, Eddie. No, the vets they beat out, they didn't beat them out. Those vets suck, and they fell off. That could be another perspective.
That would still mean they got beat out.
They got beat out.
That's what I just said, though.
But
he became our second best player.
Are we disagreeing just to disagree now? That's what we do.
But that part is true.
Randle can play. Those other guys suck. Now, Obi can play, but he just can't play better than Randle. That could be a perspective.
Wait a minute. So when I said Obi didn't beat out a veteran, y'all disagree with me and said Obi didn't beat out a veteran.
No.
I mean, y'all gotta speak. Y'all gotta speak basketball to me, bro. I don't get it.
I mean,
I don't get it.
I mean, in the race for I'm Jamaican, right? It's a 100-meter dash.
Oh, here we go with
Fournier and D Rose are like me against Usain Bolt. So I just couldn't. I might as well start. I didn't even get off the starting line. I didn't even get there to the start. So they were so bad that anyone would have beaten them out, just about, if they just show up.
And you guys really do
I
have to
disagree
account
with
for
that.
I
You
disagree with that too.
Come
I
on,
I
just
you
know,
have
but
to.
I'm trying to find a
disagree.
different
God.
perspective, Eddie. I'm trying to help you, Eddie.
y'all are like public defenders for Obi, bro. Obi need a lawyer, man. Y'all need to go to a law firm because the public defenders ain't doing Obi no justice, bro.
And
You
listen,
know what I'm saying?
nobody is saying that Obi Toppin later on may not develop into a player.
Right.
I just don't feel he's a right fit for the New York Knicks and the way we play. That's it. I just don't think he's a
That is
good fit.
100% true. That is 100% true.
Yeah.
Or last game could be the microcosm of what Obi's career is. He's hot. He's going to look great.
Wiz,
Tibbs has
did you
a
say Mike?
mentality.
Did you say did you use the word Mike in that?
Michael-
Because if you use the word Mike, let me tell you something, man. Julius Randle's averaged 26 points per game this month, averaging 14 and a half rebounds. Right?
Mm.
How are we even talking Obi Toppin at the moment, bro? What are we doing?
In 7 minutes yesterday, Obi put up 12 points, 2 rebounds.
All right. And how
But-
often has that happened?
So
Like
what did you
once
use
every
to play him
23
again?
games?
Because
Come
if
on.
you're using like a per 36, if you're using a per 36 metric, which is whack,
No, I'm not. I'm
that,
using
that
I'm
Obi
using a
Obi
Tibbs
scored 12
sabotage.
points in 7 minutes, right? Then that means Julius Randle was averaging 90 points a game.
I'm
If we
saying
just
Tibbs
using some weird
sabotage.
geometry like that, come on,
No,
bro.
I'm saying Tibbs is sabotaging the guy's career. With a
On
coach
purpose.
sabotage.
Stop.
I just don't
Stop.
see that, man.
Stop.
Like
Come
basketball is
on,
like
man.
basketball
I'm
is
sorry, Eddie. I'm sorry.
like people have played
I haven't been
basketball
Nah,
for
nah,
years. There's been
It's
guys
like
for
we're not.
years.
Nobody's wrong. It's like nobody's wrong. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, but
Right.
the whole when I see people say sabotaging somebody's career, devaluing the play, players have played basketball for years, and you have to be able to get yourself up off the bench by playing and beating out the guy that's in front of you or carving out minutes. Emmanuel quickly carved out his minutes from the time that he's been here on this team. Quentin Grimes carved out his minutes last year, right? Why? Because they produce.
Right.
Quentin Grimes came in as a
But
rookie.
that doesn't happen all the time.
Of course,
Like
it
the
doesn't happen
Sacramento
all
Of course
the
it
time.
doesn't.
Of
The
course it
Sacramento.
does. That's
Okay,
exactly
so
what I'm
then-
saying about Obi.
Right.
He didn't
didn't
carve
carve
out
out
his
him.
minutes. So why are you just gonna gift him minutes just so people can? Oh, he can score 14 points. Why? If he's not helping your basketball team win, Quentin Grimes is help the basketball team win. Carved out his minutes to the point where at the beginning of the season it was is he going to start or not? He was hurt. Right? He became the starting shooting guard on the team. Emmanuel quickly carved out his minutes to the point where people are like, you got to keep this guy around because he can play defense. He's helping. He can play some shooting guard,
There
point
was
guard.
a point that they
He's
wanted
valuable.
that he was on the trading block, right? That they were discussing him in trades because of what value he was bringing at the time.
But
He
what
didn't-
did
they
the
didn't
Knicks-
put
what did
him
the
on the
Knicks come out
block.
and say? What did the Knicks say?
They
We
didn't
are
put
not
him on the
trading
block. They
Emmanuel
were
quickly.
fielding offers. It's a difference. They were
Right.
fielding. They were answering the telephone. They weren't calling people about quickly. It's a difference.
My
Right.
point
And I think
was that there's other teams that do it a different way, like the Sacramento Kings. The Sacramento Kings had De'Aaron Fox. They drafted Tyrese Halliburton, and then they drafted this kid,
Davion
with
Mitchell.
off night, right?
Mhm.
Davion Mitchell,
Yeah.
right? So then, what did they have to do? They knew that Tyrese Halliburton was talented. They know that De'Aaron Fox is talented. De'Aaron Fox is Julius Randle, and Tyrese Halliburton is Obi Toppin.
stop.
Don't take it literally.
No,
Don't
No,
take
no,
it
well,
literally,
no,
right?
Yeah.
But
Those
check it. But
guys
let me
both
finish.
are both talented guys. That's not a good example. Both of those guys are talented.
So then they had to get. So then they traded Tyrese Halliburton to
Eddie
get
C.
a player
was
of
a
need somewhere
starter.
else. And Sacramento plays very well right now.
The gap between Halliburton and
Fox.
Fox is not as steep as the gap between Randle and Obi Toppin. Like you could keep Obi Toppin, and because he 12 minutes behind Randle, that's about what he deserves anyway. It's just that he's not the right fit. So I don't see them as being two equal guys, and you got to get rid of one guy.
Yeah, and if you think about it, everything that came out was they were trying to move Fox.
Yeah.
Right.
And it just so happens that they got probably a similar offer or a better offer for Halliburton. That right there tells you that the parity between the two of them was not that far apart. When you talking about fielding offers for Randall and fielding offers for Obi, it's not gonna be the same at all. It's not even gonna be close. So
Bro,
you
they traded
I see what
Halliburton
you were
and
trying to
they
do, but
traded Halliburton and the
it's a
team got
bad
better. That's all
comparison.
I know. They traded
Ooh.
Halliburton and now they fourth in the West.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Evan R. I just don't think Obi gives us the best chance to win. I don't think playing Obi for an extended period of time gives us the best chance to win.
I can't.
I just don't believe it. If Obi is playing extended period of time, that means Randle is playing less minutes.
Right.
Mm.
And people are pointing to this Toronto game when Obi had, however many points in that second quarter when he was knocking down threes. They assumed that he was going to do the same exact thing when he got in the second half, which he got in the fourth quarter. The same way he got in at the top of the second quarter, he got in at the top of the fourth quarter, and the Toronto Raptors went up 11.
8-0 run.
It's not like he didn't get his chance to come in and produce again. He did.
Right.
And he actually played more minutes in the second quarter than normal because Randle normally comes in about 6 minutes. Randle didn't come back in until about 4 minutes left in the second quarter because Obi
so
was
let him cook. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So I disagree with that. He did let him stay out there. But now you expect, after a 15-minute halftime and then Randle comes out and starts in the third quarter that he's gonna come in and do the exact same thing. And obviously he didn't. If he would have, he probably would have left him out there, but he didn't.
I can't believe.
Definitely. Go ahead, Eddie C. Continue your point. You just can't have everybody talking at the same time.
No, I think I've already made the point. Like, you know what I'm saying? I thought Tony was straggling the fence there with me. I thought I was gonna have a 3-on-3, but it didn't. Then he jumped off the rope. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just.
Eddie, see, you turned this into an Obi-thon, bro. You
I
turned
just
it into an Obi-Thon.
Right.
But
it's
like
it's
an
just
hour and
because
15
I'm
minutes of
tired
Obi.
of this tug and pull war that we have within our own organization, within our own team, and we don't let anybody flourish. You know what I'm saying? Like the time
I
when
think
Obi
Grime is
Toppin wasn't
flourishing.
there, the time Obi
Grimes is
Toppin wasn't
flourishing.
in the lineup, Julius Randle became such a freaking monster. Like this guy was like, yo, like probably the top 5 NBA player within that stretch that Obi Toppin was on the injury. Right?
Okay, which
He
letting us
comes
know that
back.
he should get more minutes.
Comes back. He came back, and he's not the same player.
I
He's
don't
still
think it has
playing
to be with
well.
Obi.
Right.
It could be, it could not be, but there's just a theme that I think, if he's not there, Randall is just on a different spectrum. You know what I'm saying? And the same thing can go for Obi. If Randall's not there, Obi can play better. You know what I'm saying? So my question to you now is, at this point in time, seeing we are who we are and seeing how well Randall has played, do you trade Randall at the great value, if you can get the value, and
Where is this
play Obi
Obi-Thon
Toppin,
coming
or
from?
you can just trade Obi Toppin for peanuts?
Trade Obi Toppin for peanuts.
Trade Obi Toppin for peanuts.
Why does it gotta be peanuts though? That's my
Right.
point.
Go ahead and trade.
I
Obi
mean,
for
that's the
peanuts.
choice he
Tony,
gave us, though. Out of the
Tony,
two,
That's the
out
choice,
of the
but
two,
and then they didn't turn
Tony,
it down. You see that, Tony?
Tony,
They didn't
we
turn
gotta
it
get
down.
peanuts.
So it's like so that's what
We
the
gotta
mood
get
is.
peanuts.
But why would you
it-
trade
I like
Julius
popcorn.
Randle?
I'm
because you
allergic
gave
to
us the
peanuts.
option.
I
You
was
gave
gonna
us
say that.
peanuts.
Yo, the reason why it's peanuts is because the other team is not offering cashews for Obi Toppin.
Right. Like,
Exactly.
why would you trade Randall 26 points? Wow. To me, Randall has turned it around this season.
If you could trade
And let
Julius
us
Randle
know-
for Zach LaVine right now,
Never. No.
For Kuzma?
No.
How about
And that's
Kuzma?
gonna make you.
No.
And if you did that, is that gonna make you better?
Right.
I'm putting Randall in a trade for a star or a superstar.
Right. I mean, it does it make you better? And not only does you got to ask the question, does it make you better if you trade for Zach LaVine? trade Randle for Zach LaVine, but now you're paying Zach LaVine $40 million a year, where Randle won't make $30 million over this contract.
Okay, so
Right.
let me not make another players in the same position. You can trade Julius Randle for Cat right now.
So
I'm
what do you
not
do with
trading.
Obi? So what do you do with Obi then?
No, Obi will be your 4, but you trade Julius Randle because I think the two positions
So
of
what do you
need
do
are
with Mitch
center,
then? So what do
are
you do with
scoring
Mitch?
center and a backup point guard.
All right.
Mitch,
I
the
think we
Cat
got
is
to move
better
on
than
a little.
Mitch.
Yeah, please. Yeah, Obi Toppin.
For Cat and D'Angelo.
Yeah. All right. Let's move. I think we spent a lot of time on Obi Toppin. Hopefully,
For a dude averaging 6
he's
points a
going by
game.
the end of the trade. The
Ooh,
trade
man.
deadline, and then we can get somebody behind Julius Randle that can defend and rebound.
An NBA player. Yeah.
You know,
I don't mind that either. I really don't. I really don't mind that either.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
get it out the way. Just stop having to be there. Just stop having to be a topic.
Oh,
Even if you keep
we
Cam
weren't even
Reddish,
talking about it.
even if you
See,
can,
put
even
it-
if you have Cam Reddish, because I think Cam Reddish is a nice backup power forward. I think he can defend the 4. I think he can defend the 3. I think he can still shoot a little bit to make them honest on the 4. So even if you want to do that, just do something though.
Well, I agree with that. Hopefully we will do something. 7 through 9, and listen, in the top 6, if it brings us, if it makes us a better team. I don't think anybody is untouchable.
Right.
I think it's just reasonably untouchable. You know what I mean? I think if it's a superstar, everybody's on the deck.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
You don't think so, Crazy? If it's a superstar, everybody's not on the deck?
No, I don't think so.
So if Giannis became available,
Right.
Everybody
is not on the deck.
Everybody is on
Everybody's
the deck.
on the deck.
Even
Wait,
Jalen
wait.
Brunson.
Wait. So okay. All right. So y'all just watched them fumble this thing with Donovan Mitchell and then say that nah, man, they ain't gonna do no.
No,
well,
it's
that's
not about will
different,
they
but whether
do
they
it. It's
would
just
do it.
saying,
No, should we do it? Not will they?
Who's untouchable? Is there any untouchable? There's no untouchables.
I don't think there's any untouchables.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I just don't want to get in the mindset of the Knicks trying to
Okay.
get what's called.
It's those picks. It's the picks. It's the picks.
Yeah, man,
all the picks on. You know what I'm saying?
A-Train.
Everybody want all the picks.
She said we spend more minutes on Obi than he plays in the game.
all season.
That's what we used to do with Nilakino when I
Salute,
first started
A-Train.
going to nothing but Knicks. I'm like,
And
yo,
Kevin Knox.
That might be comment of the night. Comment of the night. Comment of the night alert.
Yeah, Kevin Knox and
For
Frank
sure.
alert.
and
Oh,
Frank.
snap.
All right, before we get into next week's game, just your philosophy on a trade for this season. Are you looking for a small move? Are you looking for a move just for this season? Do you feel like if the Knicks do make a move, like I believe, let it be for more than this season, unless it's an expiring and you're not giving up much? Just your thoughts on your philosophy for a trade, given where we are right now. Wiz, let's start with you. Your philosophy.
Man, my move right now is get me a player that's going to get us to the next level in the next 2-3 years. So right now, the Kuzma KP type move with throw them Obi, throw them Cam, throw them Fournier, throw them Rose, and throw them 2 picks, maybe 3. I'm ready to take a move where a player who can step in right now and make a serious impact either on the starting lineup. Even Mitch could go for KP. I put Mitch up for KP right now as well.
KP,
So,
Kristaps Porzingis.
Kristaps Porzingis, but yeah. So Porzingis or Kuzma, those are the 2 players I like the most right now out there. I know they are the smaller moves, but I want not a huge move, but a big enough move to make a footprint right now. And those are the guys that can make an impact right now, the next 2 years.
Right. I will say that part of them moving off of Rui Hachimura is because they intend to sign Kuzma, and then they wanted to make sure they had enough money for him. But anybody else, just your philosophy on a trade, Freezy?
The Knicks desperately need a secondary ball handler. Right. And I think the thing that we don't take into account is that this is Jalen Brunson's first year being a primary ball handler. Right. A small thing. I'm not saying that Jalen Brunson can't do it, but this is his first year doing it, and he's doing it all by himself because Grimes is not a primary ball handler. Quickly is shaky sometimes being a point guard. Derrick Rose is not getting minutes. So I would look at possibly doing some type of move to bring in a big combo guard to play along with that can play point guard minutes and give Brunson rest during games, right? Where Brunson can play off the ball some like he did with Luka. I'm not moving Brunson off the ball.
Gotcha.
What
I
I'm
think
saying is bringing in a guy like doing a
They can
Derrick,
interchange, like
right? Like doing a Derrick Rose, Evan Fournier, and Cam Reddish for a D'Angelo Russell who expires at the end of the year.
yeah. And I think that was supposed to be Derrick Rose, but obviously, that didn't really work out this year.
And Obi, if we need a sweet, if they got throwing the sweetener and Obi, but I'm not throwing in picks.
Yeah.
So
See, I'd like to bring in a guy, a wing player that can, a bench wing player, who can play some defense, shoot the ball. I would really like the guy to be, 24, 25, 26 years old. Somebody that you can say, all right, we might be able to rock with this guy for a little while. And if that's the case, then I'm willing to give up a draft pick if it's going to be a guy like that. Obviously, I think we might need some more help at the center position, someone who can block shots.
right.
So Serge Ibaka, I think, really does fit the bill. I think he can be a savvy veteran that can come in and help in that regard. You know what I mean? I'm also not opposed to looking at the waiver wire either, after the trade deadline, because after the trade deadline, people are going to get moved. There's going to be guys who don't want to be on a particular team, so they get waived, or you'll get guys who like a Serge Ibaka, who the Milwaukee Bucks might be looking for a place to move him. They don't move him. You know what I'm saying? And so they buy him out or whatever. And he's just making $2.9 million. And then you're able to sign him off, off the waiver wire or, after the buyout or whatever. So I'm not opposed to looking at that either and seeing what kind of, especially if I'm looking at veterans, I might want to look at the waiver wire rather than making a trade for a guy. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm making a trade, I think I want to do a young guy. If I'm giving up a draft pick, a young guy that can, be here for now and maybe a few years in the future. If I'm bringing in one of these old veterans, I'd rather pick him up off the waiver wire or
like a Mohawk list.
Yeah, exactly.
Off the waiver wire.
Yeah, or someone like that.
I agree 100%, Sim. My only issue with like if you're getting a young guy, yeah, I would do the draft pick or whatever. Veterans, I'm not trying to do any draft picks.
No.
The thing with a guy like Serge is not going to cost the draft picks, and waiting means you potentially not able to get him if he's traded somewhere elsewhere, or if he's picked up before we can pick him up off the waiver. Because I think it's free range for anyone. So at 2.9, the cost, you don't got to give any draft capital. You can give up, some of these young small contracts, this Savli and I don't know why. You guys said earlier Jeffries is on a 2-way contract, but they had him listed at like 1 million. So I didn't think that contract would be listed if he was on the 2-way.
No, I think it's 2-way.
I think he's on a 2-way.
Yeah.
But I think we could figure out a way to go ahead and get a guy like Serge. I think that would help immediately. It won't hurt down the line. You know what I mean? It won't hurt any potential move later on. And it's really just he could play like the Taj Gibson role
Mhm.
of you know what I mean, of being that veteran, playoff experience, championship experience. These things are I would say undervalued in a sense where you're not the guy, but that experience, tons of playoff experience, all that experience he has, I think that's valuable, even just as much as what he could bring defensively and rebounding. And I know you has questions about his age at this point and what he's able to do. Bringing him in on a short stint, you know what I mean, like to the stopgap until Mitch is back, and telling him all you got to do is rebound and defend. I think that's a lot easier than bringing a guy like Kimba in and wanting him to be
Right.
who he was, as opposed to
Right.
you know what I mean, just
You mean
focusing
giving
on.
them a defined role, right? A defined role. This is, man, this is what we expect from you on a nightly basis. Can you do this at a high level? And we're gonna limit your minutes to try to
And
make
my
sure you
other
stay
guy is
fresh for the
I forgot
playoffs.
to bring up Josh Richardson. Somebody mentioned him earlier in,
Oh
in
yeah,
in the
that's
chat.
me.
Oh,
San
was it you?
Antonio.
Okay,
Yeah,
he's another
yeah,
one. 3 and D. I don't think he'll cost much. I doubt we got to give up first round picks. You know what I
right.
mean? I think we could squeeze him away. And then I just got a quick question. Because I meant to bring this up earlier, and Frieza, you just reminded me with your talk about Brunson, and this really being his first time in that lead guard role, right?
Right,
You
right.
know, all this times in the past. I mean, I guess last year was probably the closest to him splitting it with Luca, if you want to even say that. And then prior to that, he's never really had that experience in the NBA.
Right.
So my question is, similar to Randall having to have that adjustment period, right? Um, Going from not being in that position year one, being in it in year two, the teams adjusted. My question is, do you think teams are kind of figuring out Brunson a little bit, adjusting, and maybe right now we're seeing Brunson, he's gonna have to adjust to what the teams are doing to him, because
Right.
we talk about halfway, just over the halfway point of the season. At this point, there's enough film, there's enough footage, there's enough tape that guys are studying him. They
Right.
knowing what he's doing well, what where he likes his shot, how he likes to trick people with the footwork and all that.
Right.
And a lot of that has been neutralized in the last, I don't know, 5 games, 10 games or so.
Okay.
So do you
I
guys
don't think
think that
so.
you
I
don't?
just think he might be fatigued. I think something else is going on, because I've just seen him get his shot whenever he wanted to. It's just, and teams know him already from the Western Conference. So I don't know. It's just hard for me to believe. Now, don't get me wrong. They putting physical guys on him. They putting long, guys on him.
Well,
They're making
forwards,
it
Toronto had Hernan Gomez guarding him.
right. They putting taller guys on him. And a lot of times, if the rest of your team is not playing well, that makes it easier for them to do that. It makes it
I-
easier for them to double team, because there's the other players are not playing well. I
I'm also
personally just
noticing
think
a lot of his moves. I think people are picking up on some of them, and he's got.
I
Right.
hear
I don't
I
know.
hear you. I'm just saying, this is my take. My take is that there's something else going on. It's hard for
Like
me to
what though?
believe
Like what?
that
That
he's gonna be
help us get there
neutral.
with you, Queen. Like what's the other
Well,
thing?
I'm thinking maybe it's fatigue,
Maybe it's just fatigue.
because he doesn't seem to be as aggressive anymore. I think that maybe the rest of the team is not playing as well, which means that they can double him, and
Mm.
do the things that they do to him. Um, yeah,
Yeah. See,
that
I
that's
I
that's
I
see.
where I'm at.
agree.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean,
So.
real quick, so one of the things that I've noticed is, and again, I'm looking at this from the lens of what I witnessed Randall go through. So the double teams are a lot more frequent now.
The
Period.
trapping.
I,
Yeah, the
I don't know if
trapping
that's
at the top. Yeah.
necessarily based off of the rest of the team not playing as well. I think he's got to figure some things out. get rid of the ball a little bit faster. You know what I mean? You not break the double team every time. Like you use the pass to break the double team as opposed to trying to finagle your way out of it. So it's just little things. And granted, this is no bash on Brunson because I think he's one of the higher basketball IQ guys. So he'll figure it out. But I think it's me personally. I feel like I see an adjustment with the way he's being defended, and he's gonna have to readjust a little bit more. My bad, Sim. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Now, I was gonna say, I think I agree with what Steph is saying about the fatigue, and I don't know if it's fatigue as far as like the amount of minutes he's playing, or just the fatigue of this being his first season as the primary ball handler,
Right.
and as one of your leading scorers on the team. You know what I'm saying? So there could be some fatigue there, just getting used to the endurance of playing this many minutes at this position and having the responsibility that you have on this team.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think there is, and without a doubt, teams are definitely adjusting to him.
They are.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, uh, he's gonna have to, adjust to whatever it is that they're doing. And I agree, Tony. I think I don't think that's gonna be a problem for him at all. You know what I mean? In his last 5 games, the thing is, even with him, not playing well, he had 21 points against Toronto. He shot 40% from the field, but 57% from three. 19 against Atlanta, 50% from the field. 32 against Washington, about 46% from the field, 66% from three. Against Toronto, the first game of this stretch, he had 26 points, but he only shot 38%. And then versus Detroit, the Knicks won that game. That was the previous. That was the game that they won before they hit this 4-game losing streak. 27 points. I mean, when you look at it, it's teams like Toronto,
right?
You know what I mean? That are aggressive,
junk defenses and odd matchups.
That because in these other games he shot decent. But the Toronto games 40% and 38%.
Yeah,
from the field.
But you know what I
and
think
his
it is?
turnovers have been up uncharacteristically. Like
really,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
And that's
been
another thing that I've
up.
noticed. And I'm blaming the defense more than him per se. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
this is what I will say though. I think why he's looking so different is that he's not carrying us in the last 5 minutes where he would just call his number 3, 4, 5 times in a row and get to his spot and hit the shot and kind of carry us. Like that's not happening. And so it makes it seem like he's not playing well. But when Sim reads the stats, overall, the numbers and the efficiency is still there. But it's that last 5 minutes of the game where we just got so used to him just getting in the key, getting us the bucket that we need.
Yeah,
that part of it is not happening.
Things have looked harder for him, though. With the way teams are defending him, harder for him to get into the lane. Things have definitely looked a little tougher for him.
You know what though, and this is not a unique situation, right? But most teams that have a pretty good point guard also have a pretty good backup point guard, right? And when you look around the league, man, whether it's Steph Curry and what's the tall guy they used to have?
Sean
Livingston.
Yeah. For the most, but when you look at our roster, bro, on nights where quickly don't have it, it's he's got to do everything.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my point is that we should probably go after somebody like Fred VanVleet. He's available on the market. He's just like Brunson. He can take pressure off of Brunson, and he plays good defense.
Wait.
You got to keep the salary cap in mind. Where are you playing?
He's an unrestricted free agent.
But where you playing him?
And we don't have the money.
He played with Kyle Lowry in the 1 and 2.
Whoa.
I mean, but we need to have multiple players like this, like getting away from like the height and width talk. You need to have players that are good, bro. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you, but you can't have you. So that means you playing him at the 2 That means you put in Grimes at the 3, or you moving
No.
Grimes to the
No,
bench,
Grimes should definitely go to the bench, but
and the
then you have
salary
a
consideration.
then you have a good rotation there because when either one of those are on the bench,
Mm.
you can put
Wow.
Grimes in. When you put RJ Barrett on the bench, Grimes can play the 3. I really like the 3 guard rotations a lot, and we talked about this when we had Quickly, Brunson, and Grimes out there. If
Grimes
RJ
is
Barrett
not
play the
really
4,
a guard yet, though.
he's a 2, but yeah, not a 3,
He's
the
more like
point,
a
not a
wing right
3-point
now.
guard
He's not a
rotation.
guard though.
But you can
Queen,
play.
how's your blood pressure?
All I know is that this needs a punch. I know
He
this
has
needs
to
a
But what I'm
score.
saying, the salary cap considerations, you got to consider the salary cap. There's
and
we
that
just
lineup
not
with
going to
2
be
tiny guards, man. You had Kawhi Leonard at the 3, Pascal Siakam at the 4, and Brook Lopez, probably one of the
but
best defensive centers at the 5.
we don't have to take their template. You know what I'm saying? We just have to be a better. Steph said it also, like, sometimes we have to score too. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, it's not
Right.
just all playing defense and being able to guard 3 positions. You have to be able to go on the other side. If somebody scores a 3-pointer on you, you have to be able to go on the other side of the floor and know that there's 2 or 3 guys that could get you a 3-pointer too.
And they had
Well,
Norman
my only
Powell too,
Especially
right?
at the end of games.
my only issue with that is the salary cap considerations. If you can have 2 short guards, but to Freezy's point, your 3, 4, and 5 have to be lengthy. Because look at what's happening in Cleveland. They have Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, but who do they have at the 3? They got Mobley, they got Jared Allen. You have to construct your roster in a certain way,
Dean
so
Wade,
that you can
Kevin
still
Love,
have
Teddy
So if you look
Osman.
at that
a good
situation,
defense.
so Mikal Bridges is that much of a denominator that the Phoenix Suns are looking at getting Fred VanVleet, even though they have Chris Paul and Campaign
But
as
Chris
their
Paul
backup.
is on it. That's why they need Van Vliet.
Yeah,
Because
they're going
Chris
to
Paul,
replace
Because he's on his last legs, and they're going to replace him with.
they're going to
with
replace
Fred
him.
VanVleet.
And their 2 guard is a 6'6" scorer.
Right.
So Van Vliet would fit nice with. I just think they're cheaper options. I hear what you're trying to say, Eddie C. I just think there's cheaper options that won't lock us into paying a luxury tax and not being a championship contending team. I think that's something we have to think about. But that's not necessarily luxury tax, but get into that
Hard cap.
that hard cap. We got 400 million close to and 4 players.
If I'm just going to rent him, for this year, right, to see where we go for this year, just hit me
Van
up.
Vliet, they not trading.
Mitchell Robinson goes to Toronto, right? Then you can get Serge Ibaka in there, or I even like the censor from Miami, the backup censor from Miami. He doesn't play that much.
Deadman,
yeah, types of players like that can defend the rim,
okay,
and do some of the similar things that Mitchell Robinson can do, but then have a Fred VanVleet in your backcourt.
Right, but this is the thing. This is pie in the sky. They're not trading Fred VanVleet to the New York Knicks.
Nah.
They're not doing that. And what we would have to give back for Fred VanVleet, we don't have a team.
Right. What we got to give up for him? We could.
Yeah.
Mitchell Robinson.
When he'll be a free agent this summer.
Right. But we don't have. We would have to create cap space for him.
It would probably be something like Mitchell Robinson.
Non-rotational players for Gordon Hayward.
Right. All right. Let's we didn't get a chance to discuss this, but I'll just put it up and make a make a quick point. We're 13th in defensive rating, but our last 5 games were 29th at 126.7 per 100 possessions. Our last 10 games were 26 at 120.2 per 100 possessions. And our last 15 games were 23rd at 117.7 per 100 possessions. So this has been an issue even with Mitchell Robinson. It may even get worse without him, but it's been an issue for quite some time. Yeah. And I do think with Jericho Sims back there, we're going to have to play a different type of defense because he's not the rim protector. Not only is he not the rim protector Mitchell Robinson is, but Mitchell Robinson with his length will just deter players from coming in there anyway when he spreads out. But like I said on Freezy's show, there are many teams in the top 10 in defense that don't have a Mitchell Robinson. Right? What are they doing?
They probably got better wing defenders.
They probably have better wing defenders, right?
Yeah,
so there's something we're going to have to do in Mitchell Robinson's absence to become a better defensive team with Sims. And to your point, Tony Crow, something is going to have to happen up top. But how? You got RJ Barrett, who's not playing well defensively.
No.
And you got Brunson. And I think there's a lot to ask of late. I think there's a lot to ask Randle to play both sides of the ball 100% of the time. You know what I mean?
Steph, I think I can tell you what it is.
What is it?
A lot of these teams play zone.
They play zone. Exactly. That's what I was trying to get to.
They play zone.
Yep. And they force you to take long shots. When you miss, they get out and run in transition with long athletes, which leads to them scoring, getting easy buckets the other way.
And our rebounding against the zone is horrible as well. Like, so not only does it make us force us to shoot shots that we probably don't want to take, but it also negates us from offensive rebounding, which is a strength of ours.
Because it takes away that one-on-one offensive rebound from Mitchell, and it brings two other power forwards from the side or forwards from the side to help gang rebound. And that's why Mitchell Robinson can't offensive rebound on zones.
So, Sim, you were saying that because of the zone, that's how our defense?
No, I think like you were asking how some of these other top defensive teams have a good defense, even though they don't have like a Mitchell Robinson type guy.
They're playing zone.
I think some of them play zone, right? They make zone into their defensive schemes. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, look at Toronto.
Yeah.
Right. Look at Toronto. They don't really have a crazy shot blocker, but their defense is tough. Part of it is because they play an aggressive zone.
Right. And
they also have the personnel too in the length to for the zone to be a little bit more effective.
That's true. That's definitely true.
Every team, I'll say.
Right. And I don't know if I'm bugging.
And they're two-way players too.
Does Brunson look like he's used to playing people that are taller than him and used to like using his quickness around and swinging? But when you compare him to somebody who's as short as him and as stout as him, defensively, it's not the same thing for him. And that's where Fred VanVleet's been eating him up for the past two games. Like, I hate playing around Toronto. It might be good for Brunson in the future, playing against other players like Cleveland. Like, I don't know, is Darius Garland going to be able to stay in front? I hope he has a good game against Cleveland, because if he doesn't, then that's something else, like Steph says.
Yeah, I think Brunson and Randle, and even RJ, but those two guys, they got to put in work to give us a good chance to win offensively. And
I think Carter played them well too. I think that was the other short point guard that played them well too.
Yeah, the second time, not really, but the first time he did.
And then Monte Morris was back and was in Washington. Monte Morris is kind of like the same, smaller type. So I don't know.
All right, let's get into next week's games, predictions, and thoughts. We played the Cavaliers Tuesday. We played the Celtics Thursday. We played the Nets Saturday. I believe Kevin Durant, he's still out now. Whether or not he'll still be out for Saturday's game, I believe so. But it looks like Donovan Mitchell is probable for tomorrow. So who knows? Everybody get well around the Knicks, when it's time to play.
You know that's he was waiting for this one.
Right. So
he took the extra day off and everything. Like, I'll wait till the next game.
Right. The Cavaliers are 10 games over 500, 5-5 over their last 10 though. 5th in the Eastern Conference. We're 1-1 this season. The Celtics are 35-12. I think they lost tonight, but coming into tonight, they were 9-1 over their last 10 and had won 9 straight. First in the Eastern Conference. I think we're 0-1, right? We didn't beat this. 0-1. Not
0-1 for both of them, right? We didn't beat the Nets either.
Right. I meant to put it the other way around. My mistake. The Nets 29-17, 5-5 over their last 10. They won 2 though. Been struggling initially without KD, but they won their last two. They're fourth in the Eastern Conference, and we're 0-1 against them and 0-1 against the Celtics. I have that wrong. Look at the offensive and defensive rating of these guys: 10-2 for the Cavaliers, 3-5 for the Celtics, 8-7 for the Nets. The Nets defense is really turned around with the coaching change.
Right.
Your thoughts on and well, the Knicks too, 25-23, 5-5 over their last 10. They lost 4, 7th in the Eastern Conference, 6 in offensive rating, 13 in defensive rating. But as we talked about, that's overall. Over the last 5, 10, and 15 games, the Knicks defense hasn't been any higher than 23rd out of 30 teams. Right? Your thoughts on this week's games coming up?
Well,
Man.
unfortunately and probably fortunately, I will be at work for those Cavalier Celtic game, so I won't be watching it live. I'll see the Nets game. I'm gonna
The
give us
Celtics
one.
just lost to the Magic. Okay.
Yeah, which is not good
Not
for
good
us.
for us. Right.
Right.
I'm gonna say 1-2. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
What's the victory? Which
Yeah.
who's gonna beat?
I think we're gonna pull out the net game. To be honest, the one game I get to watch.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I think we could beat the Cavs.
Mm.
I do. I think um, we match up well with them, and we can beat the Cavs. If the Nets are playing without KD, obviously that gives the Knicks a better chance. Yeah, I don't know if we're doing anything with the Celtics. I think it'll be a good game, but I don't think we're going to beat the Celtics. I mean, I could see us probably 1-2 over these next 3.
Yeah, I would agree with that. 1-2. I think we beat the Nets. I think the Cavaliers with Jared Allen and
I was gonna
Mobley,
say,
they
Mitch,
long.
They're back.
we beat them once once without Mitch and beat them with Mitch, right? Mitch missed one of those 2 games against the Cavs, and I believe that's the one we lost.
Man, I'm gonna say this, man. Sunday morning is gonna be very interesting in Knicks universe, right?
Yeah.
And because for us to assume that we can get our defense right before we play the Cavaliers tomorrow is a stretch. You feel me? And so y'all know how much I love the Knicks, man. I ain't even going you know what I'm saying, going front. This stretch of games right here against this gauntlet is gonna make or break some people's seasons. Not the Knicks, because Knicks are gonna keep going, but you're talking about playing the Celtics in the Garden, Brooklyn in Brooklyn, right?
Oh, the Celtics is in the Garden as well?
No, in the Boston Garden.
Boston Garden. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That ain't the Garden, bro.
I know.
Right. No, I get it. But them banners in the ceiling says it is.
Oh,
But what I'm gonna say is this, man. If we don't beat Cleveland tomorrow night, and man, Thibodeau's seat is gonna be so hot Sunday morning. Because I don't know, man. It's a rivalry game. We playing in Boston. They number 1 in the Eastern Conference. The last time we played them against a good defense. Remember the Saturday night that we played them? Our defense was playing good. They came out and picked our defense apart. They were hitting every shot known to mankind, and we were too. And then we ran out of gas. But they just it was like they put up video game numbers on us against that set times Thibodeau defense. So unless Tibbs figures something out within the next 3 days.
The only thing I would say to that, Freezy, is like, you said about the Knicks changing it, their defense getting back to it, by tomorrow, is desperation can do a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think the Knicks should feel real desperate going into tomorrow's game. And I know people say, I know they have a lot of size with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. But I do feel like we match up with those guys pretty well. Even though they have size, I don't feel like they're as aggressive, even though they have a really, really good defense, right? A highly ranked defense. Both times we played them, they had a highly ranked defense.
Okay.
I feel like we match up with them a little bit better. Obviously, Mitch will be out, so that changes the matchups a little bit. Um, just like the Raptors. I mean, coming into the Knicks game, the Raptors defense is ranked like 19th or 20th in the league.
Right.
But somehow against the Knicks, it feels like they're the best defensive team in the league. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully desperation is setting in for the Knicks, and they feel desperate
Hopefully.
to get that win tomorrow, especially when they're looking like, the Celtics and the Nets. We really might need to get this one. I'm hoping that desperation sets in.
I just want to throw one
Yeah.
more X factor out there, just real quick. They have a dude that they thought was a bust because he wasn't developing, but right now he's one of the best wing defenders in the league, and he will be switching off on R.J. Barrett and Julius Randle, a dude named Isaac Okoro. Right, this
Right.
dude in the league with the scoring, and I don't know if Queen, if y'all spoke to this point or not, but the scoring is way up in the NBA from last year,
Right.
right? And this dude defensive rating has plummeted, right? And so they're gonna have you can expect to see him on Randall, RJ, and maybe even Brunson.
For sure.
And what that does is it allows Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley to roam and block shots.
Is he getting playing time like that? I know
He
earlier
started.
this.
He started last. I believe he started the last game because Donovan Mitchell was out.
Okay. Okay.
So the question is for me is Quickly playing, and if he
But he's
is,
playing.
then
Okay.
here's a good story. The good thing is when we lost to them and they put up 121 points. The next game they put up 81. The first game was 33 minutes by Fournier, 30 minutes by Cam, 18 minutes by D Rose. The last game they only scored 81. Those three players had an average of 0 minutes. So 0 squared. So the good thing is, without those three players in our lineup, it looks like a defensive scheme, if done properly, can give us a chance. Also, last game we beat them 92-81, where we shot only 70% from 3 point,
Mm.
17%,
Oh,
but we held them
17.
to 22% from 3 point. So the thing is, if we can just do our game and play within ourselves, score our 2 pointers and get into the foul line, 81% last time, by the way, we can hold them. We can hold them down. Unless Donovan, of course, has a freaky Donovan Mitchell type game and puts up 50 at us.
Who's
Other
gonna
than
stop
that,
him? Who's gonna guard him?
I don't know. That's the problem. I'm worried. I'm worried about who's going to guard him because
Yep.
that's the X factor. Donovan having a Donovan
Yeah.
Mitchell type night,
Yeah.
but I think the pressure could be too much for him, and we're going to hold him down like we did last game. So I'm saying that's the game we could catch, or we need to capture. If we don't capture that game, the steep fall against Boston next could really demoralize the team for even the next game where we may walk over there totally demoralized and go 0 for 3. That's a scary
Wow.
part.
Hey, Queen B, I gotta do some show prep for the
Yeah,
Knicks
yeah,
and
yeah.
that
Yeah, we
podcast.
getting out of here. Yeah.
So
I
I'm gonna
appreciate
get
you.
out of here. It was a pleasure, man, rocking with y'all, man.
Appreciate you.
All right,
So
bro.
I'll probably do that for like 3 hours, jump back up, and then do some more stuff a little bit. Y'all know me,
Oh,
but
we didn't get to mine.
yeah, man. But I appreciate y'all having me, man.
I
It feel
appreciate
good.
you.
It feel good being back up here with y'all, man. For real.
It's like a throwback
Crazy.
session, man.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right.
man. Throwback. So and Eddie C was who's marked this time? Is that what y'all?
Nah, we're gonna go 3-0 though. We're gonna go 3-0 though. We're gonna beat the
Oh,
Cavs. We're gonna beat
Wow.
Boston, and then we're
oh,
gonna beat Brooklyn.
All right. I hope you're
scary.
right, Eddie
Hi,
C.
I
Eddie.
think I think we match up well against Cleveland, like Sim said. I don't know. They never really scared me from the get. I already told you guys that since
Mm,
the beginning of the year. And we play better on the road than we do at home.
true.
So we're gonna go to Boston. I think
Mm.
Marcus Smart is hurt. I think he's hurt. Um, so I think we can win that game. And then the one I'm most worried about is the Brooklyn game because even though it's a road game, it's just next door.
Mhm.
Especially if Kevin Durant comes back. But If he's not there, then that's another reason why we probably can pull that game out too. So I say we might go 3-0.
Ooh.
Wow.
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow.
You feel me?
Okay. 3-0.
Shout out to Paris Duggar. He says salute to the show. Appreciate you, Paris Duggar, always.
Luke.
Any last words before we get out of here?
Parish Duggar did not throw any stones, so there wasn't a lot said that he did not disagree with today. You did not throw many stones today, so salute, Parish.
Well, I just want to say thank you, Queen, for giving me the opportunity.
Of course,
There's much
anytime.
respect, appreciation. I'll see you. I mean, you'll see me on the. I'm still subscribed.
I appreciate it.
All right, man.
Following you on Twitter. You know, getting that merch, using that Cash App, which everybody get in there. Click that more button, and see the Cash App. You see the merch. Do all of that. Support the Queen, Tony. You're the man. Sim, I'm always watching your stuff and getting your feedback. And I love your
Appreciate
points.
you.
I really respect all you guys. And then Eddie, cray, man, 3-0, man. Come on, dude. I'm a fan, but come on, man. I'm just saying, but good to see you again, Eddie. Appreciate it again. Thanks for that,
brother.
I mean, leave it up to Eddie. Somebody just said it in the chat. Leave it up to Eddie. We're gonna have Karl Anthony Towns. We're gonna have Fred VanVleet by the trade deadline.
Fred VanVleet.
We have a whole different
Obi starting.
Obi
Brunson on the bench. Woo!
Right. And Vucevic. Don't forget Vucevic.
And Vucevic, you know.
Vucevic will be my power forward.
Wow.
Why not get Giannis and LeBron too, man? Come on, man. Why not?
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, Nothing But Knicks. Hit the notification button so you'll be notified anytime anything goes live on Sim's channel. And if you digging me as a host, subscribe to Dope Soul Sports Talk. I do the morning recap show every morning after the Knicks play around 9ish. And then every Thursday I do the Just Nicking It show. Tony, you want to say anything about Knicks and Bruises?
Yeah, if you feeling the Queen as a host, she's also a co-host on Knicks and Bruises. So go over there and check her out there with me on Mondays as well. It's been great sharing the panel with you guys again, Sim.
Yeah, it feels like home, right?
Since the Washington game. So
yeah,
man,
that's true.
It's great to always when the band's back together.
Yeah, no doubt.
For sure.
No doubt.
Until next time, fam.
Peace, chat.